We be live.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Oh, look at this. People are already telling us where they're watching from. I didn't even say anything. You say Nico is saying hello from Germany, and Shikha is saying hello from India, and Lucifer is saying hello from Malaysia. Kian is saying hello from Belgium. Guys, the reason why people are doing this in our live chat is because we asked them to do so to show everybody how global our show is. Not just our audience, but also our news. Like, for example, Susie, what countries? So we cover news about religion from all around the world. And what countries are we covering today? Okay.
Oh my goodness. We have Canada, the United States, India, Iraq, Afghanistan, Morocco and Sudan, and Australia.
Nice.
Oh, we
Look,
have someone tuning in from Saudi Arabia today.
oh my God, Himo from Saudi Arabia. Stay safe out there, Himo. And Darko is saying, we'll be live and global. I mean, maybe that should be our
Yes, we are.
tagline, no? Kenny from Belgium, Erkin from Turkey. It's not Turkey, by the way, anymore. Did you know that? What is
Yes,
Susie, do you know that?
Turkey.
Turkey, which was for us Iranians was always Turkey, but now it's Turkey for you as well.
Yeah.
Right? So New Zealand, like
my Turkish-speaking friends are quite pleased.
Yes. Barbara. Oh,
that's Judy.
Santa
Judy.
Judy from I don't know why I said that. Judy from Santa Barbara. Peter from Australia. Yeah, I just noticed the logo. Hey, Judy, guys, go check out the channel Humanist Society of Santa Barbara, and make sure you check out Susie's Susanna's video, Susanna's recent speech on it. That was like the best. I'm not exaggerating. The best speech I've seen on Iran anywhere. Okay.
Oh my God.
So if you want to capture like what's happening with the revolution and stuff in Iran,
see me rant for 45 minutes and also trash progressives.
Oh no. Peter from Australia. Okay, we need to finish these things. Kelvin from New York City.
There's too many, but this is the point. There's one day we're gonna reach a point where there's too many to list, Armin.
Yes. We need a backup host to highlight these for us. Ray. Oh yeah, guys, we need a backup host. Check out our volunteer application in the description. Somebody that could highlight these comments for us. Ray also from Saudi Arabia. Drusilla from Norway. Okay, last one I'm going to read. Simon from Denmark, we say. You say Denmark, we say Denmark. Adam is Sue, are you a secret Iranian? Adam is asking.
Honestly, when I meet a new Iranian and it slowly becomes apparent to them how much I know about the country, they get freaked out and they start. I was on a date with a guy yesterday and he started to get freaked out. He actually asked me,
Iranian guy.
Yeah. He was like, how do you know this? And I'm like, here's the thing. I've heard that a lot before.
That's funny. Newman from India, our very own Newman or Noman. Which one is it?
I don't know. We keep saying it wrong. I gave up.
We keep switching it. Yeah. Okay. So, should we start the first news? Oh, by the way, the news today, is it tragic? Is it funny? Is it ridiculous? What are we in for?
We have like one or two tragic things.
Two.
Most of it, actually, we only have like one that's majorly tragic. Yeah.
Okay, one that is majorly tragic. Okay, out of 10, 2 that we have to brace ourselves for. The rest is kind of good. Okay, that's good. Is the first one? Have I corrected the first one correctly? Is that the one? It seems.
Yes.
It seems to be from Canada. Okay, is it clappable?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, good. First news.
Muslims lead million-person march against LGBT ideology in schools. Muslims in Canada, under the leadership of activist and businessman Kamal al-Sheikh, are rallying together for a quote-unquote million-person march in Ottawa on September 20th. The protest is against what they described as the LGBT ideology being forced upon children in Canadian schools. El Sheikh's passionate commitment to this cause shines through in his optimistic outlook as he aims to unite Canadians of all religious backgrounds in defense of so-called family values. He remarked, quote, "I am optimistic, absolutely. You know, if there is one thing that's going to inspire Canadians from coast to coast to go down and protest, it's the kids and their innocence and its families." He also criticized Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, accusing him of pressuring Muslim communities to accept what he deems as sinful behavior. El Sheikh emphasizes the common ground between different faith communities in Canada, saying we can coexist. And I think that's what's absolutely what these protests are illustrating is that Christians and Muslims and most Jews, and of course a lot of common sense Canadians, have a lot in common. That it's not just what Justin Trudeau is preaching. Amidst growing tensions, the protest represents a significant movement in the ongoing debate about LGBT education in Canada. So I thought that this would be very interesting to cover because I don't even know what to call it anymore. I guess, loosely LGBT culture war is going pretty strong in Canada right now.
What the hell are they talking about? What is LGBT ideology? Are they talking about tolerance and accepting other people? Is that LGBT ideology? What is LGBT ideology? Can somebody explain that to me?
So, I know what it means in the American context, and let's be honest, like that just bleeds over the border and then it becomes your guys' culture war.
we don't have Canadian culture, okay? Canadian culture is just American culture and anti-American culture. Actually, that's a bigger part of it. Okay, we don't have our own unique culture. If anybody tells you that we do, they're lying. Okay, so yeah.
So anything that becomes a culture war in the States is like, just give it about 3 to 4 months and it'll probably start messing up y'all's political discourse too.
Yes.
So I know in the American context, what they mean by LGBT ideology is a very loosely defined thing. And if you ask any given conservative, they're probably going to give you a slightly different answer. But I think what they're mostly referring to is education in schools regarding LGBT issues. So that could mean but there's a whole spectrum about it, right? And especially with all the book bans that are happening in the US, sometimes it's oh, this is a book that has sexually explicit, kind of gay material in it. This is totally inappropriate for children to be exposed to, blah, blah, blah. And it's how many children are actually picking up that book in the library? Honestly. But then there's the full gambit where it's oh, this is a children's book that shows two gay men just living together. Not even two gay men, just two men living together. Now that needs to be banned. And then there's okay, we want to have education in schools that shows that gay people exist. And then there are people that are hey, you are having LGBT education, or really the biggest moral panic is about transgender education. Way too early. That's always the thing, is you're going to confuse the kids. And then there's a few other things as well, but mostly kind of in that vein.
Okay, I got it. I think I got it. Okay, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I think I figured out what LGBT ideology. The summary of it is the acknowledgement that LGBT people exist. That is LGBT ideology,
and it's okay.
That it's okay to be LGBT,
and we should accept them.
Okay, and that's what they're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. By the way, that's not LGBT ideology. That's just like not being an a-hole, I think.
It's
That's what
still,
it's.
yeah, I mean, there's a difference between tolerance and acceptance. And I mean, as a member of the LGBT community, like personally, I think we should be promoting tolerance. We don't have to enforce acceptance. And
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion, is that in America, some of the ways in which I think we've gone astray is pushing for acceptance. Well, I do think acceptance is more desirable. We can't enforce it, but we can more thoroughly promote tolerance. But that's a sidetrack.
Yeah, but that's not LGBT. I mean, that's not. First of all, I don't like the term LGBT ideology. Okay.
Oh no, it's nonsense.
Because
It's meaningless.
yeah, yeah. So it's promotion of tolerance. That's what we're doing here,
Mhm.
right? Promotion of tolerance. These people are delusional. Okay, they think what they actually mean when they say LGBT ideology is the idea that people are trying to make their kids gay and trans. They like what's actually happening is that we're trying to create a world where if your kid happens to be LGBT, that they don't feel like crap because of it. Okay, you think that if your kid ends up being gay or trans or anything else, that it's these liberals who did it to your kids. You don't understand that they were LGBT, and the liberals are trying to make it so that they don't feel like crap. And you are making a world that they do. You prefer a world where they do actually feel like crap. That's what's happening. I know there are exceptions, by the way. Don't come. Yeah, I understand that some people take it too far. Okay, that naturally happens. Whenever there's a movement, we are going to have some crazies. It's impossible to have any move. The best movement in the world is going to have some crazies in it. I know that. But what these homophobic and transphobic people do is that they jump on those cases of insanity and they try to make it so like as if that this is the entirety of this movement, which isn't. It obviously isn't. I mean, I think peaceful Muslims should recognize that more than anyone else. When Muslims all of a sudden go get the content from these conservative Christians on highlighting some crazy trans people or some crazy gay people, and we're like, oh my God, look how insane this is. Like, do you realize what game that is? You people who know, by you people, I mean peaceful Muslims, who know what it's like to go and find certain radicals like ISIS or Al Qaeda or anything else or Taliban, and people are like trying to paint the entire Muslim community as if they be like that. You should recognize what you're doing yourself now when you go and find a few videos of some crazy trans people or gay people and trying to paint an entire picture for that entire community. Yeah. So
for the past 20 years, Muslims in North America have been like, hey, don't prescribe the behavior of the dangerous extremists loosely associated to our group identity to all of us as a means to justify violence and bigotry towards us. And left-leaning people were like, got it.
Yes.
You know what? You're right.
You're right. And now you're doing this. The left-leaning people that recognize that for you and were pushing for you not being treated like that, now you're betraying them by not returning the favor, basically. You're not returning the favor. That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. And that is what you call LGBT ideology. The same, I mean, that's a ridiculous label, but what is being done here is the same tolerance and accepted that was given to you in North America and Western Europe by many people from the left. They're doing that to LGBT people, and that's what you're fighting against. You're hypocrites. You're hypocrites. Yeah.
I think, well, so it's really difficult because Islam is a religion that uniquely resists reformation above other religions. It has very specific prescription against that beyond what other religions have explicitly written down. I mean, of course, there have been like Reformation movements, but that's different than actually trying to reform the text itself, right? And so part of the problem is when what this guy was talking about, this guy who's going to be leading this movement, Kamal al-Sheikh, one of the things that really made him angry, let me pull up the quote, let me find it, is basically this instance in which children were being taught in school. Okay, here's the Al-Sheikh argued that schools target Muslim students with this ideology, mentioning a pamphlet that asked the question, "Can I still be a Muslim if I am queer?" and claims that Islam and homosexuality are not in conflict, something that he considers blasphemous. So he's alleging, or apparently, I don't know, I couldn't find a copy of this, that there are pamphlets that are being distributed in schools that are telling Muslim students that Islam and homosexuality are not in conflict.
Wait,
and he's like, no, this is completely intolerable.
Okay, wait a minute. Is he saying that you can't be queer and Muslim at the same time?
And so so this pamphlet is saying, can I be Muslim if I am queer? And then according to him, it goes on to claim that Islam and homosexuality are not in conflict. And he considers this blasphemous.
Okay, I need to see. I can't judge this. I need to see what's in the pamphlet, right? But what, like, okay, I've been doing this thing, Susie. I don't know if you know. Where's our names, by the way? Can we bring back our name? Bring back our names.
What were you saying? You were doing this thing?
Okay, you know, and I don't know if you guys watched my stream with Secular Rarity. Okay, but I am doing a Mufti Armin thing, which I tell you what.
Yes. Okay.
Mufti Armin. I am Mufti Armin. Do you want me to tell you what's Islamic here? Right? Well, can you be queer and Muslim? Do you guys want to know that?
Yes.
Is anybody interested? Okay.
Mufti Armin, lend us your wisdom, your hikmah.
Yes. So the answer is that yes, you can. Okay, and being, if you're gay or trans or whatever, there is no contradiction between that and being a Muslim. You could be both at the same time. I mean, you shouldn't identify as one, because Islamically, it's not okay to make an identity out of your sins or out of your sinful desires, right? So you could have desires for the same sex, for example, and still be Muslim. And if you don't act upon it, not only is that not a bad thing, that actually makes you better than straight people, because you have extra temptations that you have to resist. So that proves that you're closer to God, right? So it's an opportunity. It's
extra not suffering only makes it a little more juicy.
Yes, extra suffering is good. So if you're tempted by the same sex and you can't, like a straight person, go and marry somebody and just give into your desires, then extra suffering is good. Suffering brings you closer to God, apparently. So if you don't act upon it, not only that's not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing. If you act upon it, that's bad. If you have gay sex, that is bad. You be sinning right now. Okay, apparently, YouTube, I'm not saying these things. I'm telling you the views of other people. But you still be Muslim. So these are 3 levels, okay? I feel like I have urges to have sexual relationships with other people, with same-sex people, but I'm not going to act upon it. That's amazing. Islamically, you're like, good on you. Good job, okay? No sins here at all, and even extra brownie points. Level 2, I have the desire and I'm acting upon it. Islamically, boo, That's a sin. You will burn for it unless you do toba, unless you ask for forgiveness and all. You're sinning, but you still be Muslim. You're still within the fold of Islam. Now, level 3, which is the worst level, which is when you sin, when you have sex with the same gender and you act upon your sinful desires, and you claim that this is not a sin. This is the worst thing you could do. You claim that, you know what? Islamically, this is cool. Islamic, God is okay with it. So you're denying the commandments of Allah. This makes you a non-Muslim now. This brings you out of the fold of Islam. This is the worst thing you could do. This is worse than the act itself. So if you go and have two Muslim men having sex, they be sinning, but everyone be sinning anyways, right? It's fine. This act itself, Islamically, is not as bad as you claiming that this act is okay. Even if I'm not participating. Imagine if two Muslim women are going at it with each other and I'm not even involved. I'm just outside. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. That's not a sin.
Oh, you're
I'm
watching?
doing the work. No, even the watching is not as bad. Okay. The watching is just a sin. Let's say I'm not even watching. Okay. I'm just like hearing about it. I'm like, yeah, God allows that. What I just did is worse than them going at each other. Did you know that? That homosexual act. Yes. They, if I'm a Muslim, okay, and two Muslim girls are going at it with each other, right? And I am just
do that.
And I'm just.
You're doing what?
They're going at it with each other, and what I do? Okay. What I do? That's right.
Sorry, I'm feeling extra childish this morning.
Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
Right. And I'm a Muslim man, and I'm like, you go, girls. That's completely okay. That's not a sin. Okay. Technically, now I'm not a Muslim, and those girls who are going at it each other, they're still Muslim. And I'm not a Muslim, even though they were doing the act and I'm not doing anything. Just me announcing that that's okay takes me out of the fold of Islam. Yeah, that's Mufti.
I mean, it makes sense. Islam it's consistent. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's consistent. And right. I'm gonna be honest, and obviously I'm very biased, because who said this in the live chat? Hindu historian said, that's horrible. If you want to be yourself, you're going to hell. Yes, this is literally what made me leave the Catholic Church when I was 14. This is literally what made me leave the Catholic Church when I was 14. When I realized I liked girls, I was like, well, I have two options in front of me. One is to hate myself eternally, or the other one is to leave that behind and cognitively thrive. Man, so Armin, one thing that I thought was really interesting was one aspect of this whole LGBT backlash in Canada was this leaked phone call that came out. And I sent you a video that contained this phone call. And no, it's not a phone call, it's a recording. So it's a recording of a teacher in a classroom. And I do not know the age of the students in this classroom, but based on the way that she's talking to them, I would assume probably at least high school. Should we play it?
You want me to play it? I could play it.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, hold on. Let me get it.
Oh, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah, what I was saying was that if you are part of an Abrahamic religion and you're an active believer and you're LGBT, it just fundamentally makes no sense to me. I know people that are LGBT Christians. I just cannot understand it. But I'm very biased.
You could say that about anything else. Being a woman and religious, being a human and religious.
I know. But specifically LGBT, it's just so much worse.
Yeah. let's play this. Oh, this is double speed because I watch everything in double speed. Let's go back.
TQ events is
Wait, no,
not
you
okay.
need to go all the way back to the beginning.
You? All the
Yeah.
way? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all across Canada right now, we're seeing a bunch of LGBTQ protests in regards to Pride Month being involved in schools. The government has come down saying it may be illegal not to celebrate Pride Month. Basically saying it goes against the human rights charter of said province to not.
Let's actually read. All schools must comply. Schools get heavy-handed against Pride backlash. That is not what. Okay, what is this? Who's this guy's name? Is this what is this guy
This
who's
is Abba
talking?
and
What's his
Preach.
name?
The guy who's the Ethiopian guy, his name is Abba.
Abba. Okay, Abba is not being honest here. Let's be fair. Okay, he's saying Canada is making it illegal to not celebrate Pride Month. What we're actually seeing on the screen is it's the schools. Like, if I didn't see this title, I would think like they're sending the police to people's homes and like, are you celebrating Pride Month? If not,
Salute the
go
flag!
to jail.
Salute the flag!
Doesn't that seem dishonest phrasing
yeah.
of what's happening here?
Yeah.
Schools are publicly funded. It's reasonable for the government to ask the schools to take part in certain activities.
And
okay?
What happened is that there was a giant walkout across Canada when there was Pride stuff happening in schools. So people would refuse to send their children to schools when there was any form of event happening.
You know, for example, the government in every country almost requires schools to teach math, right? Me, like, imagine if I took that, I'm like, oh, it's illegal. Like, it's illegal not to learn math in Canada. Like, what are you, like, as if like they're sending the police and making sure people are learning math. You know, it's part of school activities. The government phrasing it as it's illegal not to do something is making something so normal and usual, which is government requires schools to have certain curriculum and certain activities, turning that into something that seems a lot more hostile, making it illegal not to celebrate Pride Month is a very dishonest way of phrasing this, to be honest. Okay, so
basically saying it goes against the human rights charter of said province to not celebrate Pride Month at school. So parents don't want their kids to be indoctrinated. LGBTQ folks for, hey, we're not doing that. It helps with awareness and acceptance. Here's a teacher telling Muslims.
Yeah, I want schools, to teach, I want schools to tell kids that, you know what, gay people are a thing, trans people are a thing, and that's okay. I mean, the same parents, if they were like, yeah, I didn't want you to tell my kids that, I don't know, there was discrimination against black people or that slavery was a thing. If the same parents came out like, yeah, I don't want you to brainwash my children with that information, people were like, what the hell are you talking about? This is reality. These kids need to know that. Imagine, for example, in Canada, they're teaching kids about, the natives in Canada or in the US about slavery in the United States. And you're like, yeah, stop brainwashing my children about, discrimination against black people. That's part of reality. Your kids need to know that. You don't get to choose that your kids don't learn that. You don't get to, that you're the ones who are brainwashing the kids, and the school needs to fight back against that.
Muslim students that skipping LGBT it helps with awareness and acceptance. Here's a teacher telling Muslim students that skipping LGBTQ events is not okay.
Well, I'll tell you, you are out to lunch. If you think it's acceptable to not show up because you think if there's some pride activities going on at school, right? Oh, that's fine. Because I'm going to show my opinion by hanging out at the mall. But meanwhile, all those kids who are, involved in, say, the Gay Straight Alliance or whatever, I don't even know if we have that anymore in our school. They're here when we did Ramadan for Lion Time, and they're showing respect in the class for your religion, right? For your beliefs. It goes two ways. If you want to be respected for who you are, if you don't want to suffer prejudice for your religion, your color of skin, your whatever, then you better give it back to people who are different from you. That's how it works. It's an exchange. And it isn't like that in all countries. As I told you, in Uganda, literally, they think you're gay, they will execute you. If you believe that kind of thing, then you don't belong here. Because that is not what Canada believes. We believe in freedom.
So if you don't participate in pride events, you do not belong in Canada.
Okay, here's what I don't like.
That was dishonest.
It's so dishonest. It's so dishonest because she's literally saying that's not what she's saying. That's not what she's saying.
That's not what she's saying.
She's
We
saying
just heard.
if you believe in execution for homosexuality, you don't belong in Canada, which is
And
true.
he said,
because
yes.
it's a statement. She's talking about pluralism within the fabric of society. She's not talking about literally the pride event. She started out talking about the pride event, but she was ending talking about the values of being a Canadian. And the values of being a Canadian national involve pluralism.
Yeah, this isn't the citizenship test and all. You know, this is not, you don't belong in Canada. Yes, if you think gay people need to be executed for being gay, you don't belong in Canada. Says so in the booklet that they give you to become a citizen. So that is literally the case. It says also like in, child mutilation, child genital mutilation, and a whole bunch of other things. Yeah, it says that. You literally have to accept that this is the laws of the country, and you don't get your citizenship if you don't swear that you accept that. So what are you talking about? The teacher did not say. How did he misrepresent such a short audio file in such a dishonest way after playing it to us? And the teacher didn't even made an example of an Islamic country. The teacher made an example of Uganda.
Yeah, Christian country.
Literally, like one of the only Christian countries that has is getting close to executions for being gays. Like she went out from all the countries that you could make of an example out of. You come up with the only Christian, like we have plenty of Islamic countries to give this as an example for executing gay people. And literally only one Christian country, which is Uganda. And she, from all the examples that she could have chosen from, she picked the Christian one. And you still are acting as if she's like targeting. Oh my God. And also her point is completely valid. She's talking about the hypocrisy. When the not belonging part was about execution, the beginning part is like pointing to the hypocrisy. Like you are dismissing, you could like not participate in these activities, but look at what you're doing. These are the same people who came out in support of you, and you're not returning the favor. That's a completely valid point. And she's saying if you want to be accepted, it goes both ways. You can't just be demanding acceptance. You are making it hard. Like if you are a person, what isolates you from the community? Your lack of tolerance. So we are trying to say like, okay, someone's color of skin, don't use that as an excuse to discriminate against people. Someone's belonging to a community, like the Muslim community, don't use that as an excuse to discriminate against people. Okay, but what about someone's lack of tolerance? Right? If somebody is like pushing you aside because you're brown or black, that's horrible. If somebody is pushing you aside because you belong to the Muslim community, that's horrible. But what if somebody's pushing you aside because they're seeing your lack of tolerance? I can't complain about that anymore. That's not bigotry anymore. So what the teacher is pointing out is that if you are showing yourself, if you're demonstrating to others in the society that I am less tolerant, then if the community is not being accepting of you, then that's your fault now. That is not their bigotry anymore. You are saying, I am less tolerant. I can't accept gay people in society. Now, our dismissal of you and not accepting of you, that is not bigotry. We are justifiably judging you based on your actions and lack of tolerance. You don't get to attribute that now anymore to our bigotry. You're being the bigot here. We're just calling you out. And now your acceptance is your lack of acceptance in society is your fault now. And that's exactly what the teacher is saying, and it's completely correct.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this because this leaked phone call that came out has become, in Canada specifically, like a huge part of the call for an action like this million Muslim march, whatever, or million person march, excuse me, on against the LGBT ideology. And this, like, Abba and Preach are honestly some of my favorite YouTubers. Like, I love them so much. They're so funny and I love their content. But I was really disappointed when I saw this video because I do think they have a lot of more valid criticism of some of the stuff going on in LGBT culture. But this I thought was really dishonest framing because she's talking about the values of being a Canadian. She's not saying, oh, if you don't go to a pride march, you don't belong in Canada. She was making a broader statement about the values. So I thought that this framing was dishonest. And I thought it was particularly interesting because Abba himself he's an ex-Muslim. Abba is one of the largest ex-Muslim atheists on this platform, but that's just not like his identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But let's listen to the rest of it because I want to see how he frames this.
We can't listen to this whole video.
I know, just like the next few seconds.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know what Ramadan is like today, but when I was growing up, you did it. If you wanted to, you did it. And nobody cared. And honestly, I didn't care if the school got involved. Why would I give a fuck?
So again, misrepresentation. Yes, no, you don't have to participate in Ramadan. Okay, you don't have to go out and be like, oh, I celebrate Ramadan and stuff. But if you notice that people in the society are like, yeah, you go be you, happy Ramadan, right? If you go tell people like happy Ramadan, and you notice that the same people who you're trying to make feel more welcome in society, they are now going around and not doing the same thing to you, and you highlight that, that is hypocrisy. You could highlight that. You could be like, you guys are not being as tolerant as other people are trying to be to you. But now Abba is trying to point out like, well, you don't have to participate in Ramadan. That's not the point. Like, you know what is happening? What's happening here?
Can I give a quick comparison? The better comparison would be if there were calls and a movement across Canada to remove children from schools when they were doing Ramadan celebrations because they're going to indoctrinate the children with Sharia law.
Right.
That's the comparison.
Right. Yeah. Let's listen to
I'm fasting. I don't need you guys to eat sambusas with me. We're not going to be there when I break my fast. All right, you guys call it samosas, whatever the fuck you call it.
Yo, sambusas is fire.
That's what we call it.
I want to be there when y'all motherfuckers eat it.
That shit is delicious. But my whole point is like Muslims have never been clamoring for other people to observe their religious experiences. They don't care.
They care about being. Actually, they care about being accepted and tolerated.
Globally, I think they do.
Yeah.
What?
That is nonsense. In Canada, they have been doing so many things in trying to for people to recognize and accept them in schools. Like we have to also teach children in schools that people are Muslim and that's okay. Some people are Muslim and just accept that in society. That is nonsense. No, they're not pushing people to participate in Ramadan, but they're doing many activities to show kids that to be tolerant of Muslims in Canada. And also, just because you didn't have to do that, that doesn't mean that we can't point to the hypocrisy. Here's an example. It's as if, right, you come in, you are moving, okay? And I come, Susanna is moving, and I come and help her out. Go and help her out with moving. Okay. And now I'm moving and Susanna is not coming to help me out with my moving. And we're like, wait a second, I was there for you when you needed to move. How come you're not helping me? And Susanna comes like, well, you didn't have to help me. Okay. Yes, I didn't have to help you. But I'm just going to point out that you are an a-hole if you respond to me like that. And now if I come out and recognize that you're an a-hole, then you can be like, oh my God, how come you why do you require me to help you move? No, that's that. I don't require. So he is. The dishonesty is here. The requirement is for the school to have certain activities. The requirement is not for the children or the school or the parents to participate in gay pride activities, right? I almost said gay activities. To LGBT pride activities. Yeah, that is definitely not required, right? If you do not participate, that is not this, that you're not going to be forced. The Muslim community is not going to be forced to take part. But the teacher has the right to come out and say, you guys, to shame them. Shame them. In the same way, if a student
I don't think that's
doesn't, I think
a
so.
good tactic in the classroom.
Not individually shame them. I don't agree with that. But if you come out and say as a teacher, I think this is not okay. I think this is not a good way to not a good way to show tolerance and acceptance in society. Like, if you promote that, I think that's fine. Why not? If for example, let's say for example, you have an activity in school to learn about slavery. You have a play that is about slavery. Okay, let's say there's some kids are going to have an act, and other kids are going to watch, and it's about something about the history of slavery, right? And your parents are racists, and your parents like, you know what? I don't want my kids to learn that. And your kids are like, yeah, I don't want to take part in that. You guys are pushing some material on me, and I'm not going to take part in that. I'm going to stay home. When you guys have that play in school, I'm going to stay home. And the teacher next day comes and gives a speech to the entire class about why that is wrong. You're not forcing the kids to stay and watch it, but you come out and give a speech about why that is wrong. I don't think anybody would complain about that speech. I think everybody would understand that that teacher has a point. And you could tell your kid that you could address the kids in the classroom about how disgusting that is. I think that's fine. That's completely fine. But when it comes to LGBT, all of a sudden it's different. Yeah. Anyways, do you get my point? I think.
Yeah, I don't like how you framed it as shaming, because psychologically that's not a productive tactic. And I think that's inappropriate as especially in a public school setting. But I understand your broader point. Okay, well, the good thing is that I am not the one in front of the kids. Okay, I understand the wording of things. I understand that the way you frame things, the way you word things, especially when you're talking to kids, there's a whole process. There's a science to this. Okay. So if I use the word shame and that's not the right proper way of framing these things, well, I don't have the expertise. I have no idea. I have studied child psychology and all of that. That's up for them to decide. But that point needs to be made in whatever way it's appropriate to those children. Yes. By the way, guys, if you're having fun with us today, like this stream, okay? We have a bunch of people watching. Make sure you like the stream. It takes half a second, supports our channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, because we're on the road to 40K. We're going to get there as a community, okay? We're building the Atheist Republic army, okay? We need to be 40,000 strong. So hit the subscribe button too while you're here.
Also, let me just tell something else. You need to like the stream, because what you just heard, that was the best commentary on this topic anywhere. Okay, this Abba and Preach. Like, if you go to Islamic channels, that's nonsensical. If you go to a lot of progressive channels, you can see that they're taking it to sometimes an extreme level. It doesn't make any sense. Even Abba and Preach, who usually make a lot of sense sometimes, they are, you saw their take was not good. Our take is the correct take. You need to come to this channel to learn what the correct take is. So make sure you like the video so other people learn that too.
Yes, and before we move on to the next news, we've got a super chat. Well, first of all, Darko is celebrating that he's been a member for 16 months. Thank you for supporting the channel, Darko. Guys, if you want to support the Atheist Republic community, our work, what we do, because we can't do it without your support, make sure to hit the join button, which is like down below, and you get access to all of our special Atheist Republic emojis, which are adorable and includes me licking the Quran. If you're a member, like drop some of the emojis in the chat so people can see. And also, Mustafa gave a super chat saying, living in a Muslim community in the United States, I feel the Muslims often overlook how the values that call for respect for LGBT folks is the same for them. It also makes it more complicated because your group literally, and I mean literally, calls for discrimination of others in that case. Very good point, Mustafa, and I really appreciate your insight. And SFL just gave us a $7 Canadian super chat with no comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
support. And also, I just want to say, Adam Rickster is saying, I triple heart our mods. Yes, thank you to everyone that helps moderate this channel. In particular,
Right.
thank you to Dee Boudreau, our lovely volunteer editor and our best moderator.
Right.
I'm a little bit biased though.
Wait, is Newman our moderator too? Okay.
I don't think so.
Our moderator. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure he doesn't feel left out. Yeah, by the way, guys, I was joking about saying everything we say is correct. Okay, so don't think like I actually say that, believe that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure some of you guys can't tell when I'm joking, so I need to clarify. Okay, I just want to make sure that people don't think we're making a cult here or something like that. Can we? What?
You're just funny.
Oh, okay. Can I clap for the next news?
No, this is no good. This is no good. This is a very big thing that happened last week.
Oh, crap. I'm not ready for this. Okay, guys. Next news.
Next news. Christian teen suspected of killing gay man in violent stabbing attack. The fatal stabbing of 28-year-old black gay dancer O'Shea Sibley on July 29th at a Brooklyn gas station has sent shockwaves through the community. The incident unfolded when Sibley and his friends, wearing pink swim trunks and enjoying Vogue dancing, caught the attention of a group of young men. According to reports, these men began harassing Sibley's group, leading to heated words and anti-Black and anti-LGBT slurs. Witness named Sumi Ullah, recalling Sibley's response, said, quote, "We have our own life. We can do whatever we want, we're dancing. That's our life." The situation escalated into violence when Sibley's group confronted the young man, resulting in a fight in which the 17-year-old suspect, Dmitry Popov, stabbed Sibley in the torso, piercing his heart. Saida Haider, another witness, graphically described the scene. Quote, "He had a problem with them dancing. He wanted them to stop dancing. He started arguing with them. And then after a few fights and back and forth arguing, he pulled out a knife and stabbed him," end quote. Papa fled and later turned himself in, his defense attorney claiming him to be a good Christian boy. Conflicting narratives, including mentions of religious motivation, have added to the complexity and intensity surrounding this tragic event, leaving a community in mourning and a case filled with unanswered questions. So, this is a very, very big thing that happened in the United States recently. So I want to walk through what we know happened so far. And of course, I don't even think anyone's been charged yet. This hasn't gone to court, innocent until proven guilty, all that stuff. There might be more than we see. But this is what we know so far. So there were a group of gay black men that were at this gas station, and they were hanging out. It's a hot summer day. They're in their swim trunks or whatever, and they're voguing. And Vogue is it's a kind of dance that originated from the Black and Puerto Rican community in the 70s and 80s, and out of the ballroom scene. And it's a kind of dance where it's it blurs a lot of gender lines. You're kind of like doing some feminine movements. You kind of, the whole point of voguing is you're kind of copying model poses and stuff. I'm a huge nerd when it comes to Vogue, so I'm going to leave it at that because I can go on literally for 45 minutes about voguing. So what we originally heard reported in how this happened was that they were these men that were voguing, and then they were approached by a group of these other men who wanted them to stop dancing. And there were reports that they were explicit mentions, according to eyewitness testimony, talking about how the men approached them. Witnesses say that the men approached them talking about Islam, talking about, this is offensive to Islam. I don't want you to do this in front of me, blah, blah, blah. And so there were a lot of reports coming out that the suspect that killed him, who's only 17 years old, the suspected murderer is only 17 years old, basically said, "You're insulting my religion." There was a back and forth and then a stabbing. Now, the defense attorney has come out and made a statement saying, no, actually, he's not Muslim, because all of the witness statements that had been reported on so far talked about mentions of Islam being explicitly cited before the stabbing, and saying, actually, he's a good Christian boy. He like works 2 jobs. He goes to church every week. Yeah. So one of the reports said that the suspected murderer said, quote, "Stop dancing here. We are Muslim. Get that gay shit out of here." Blah, blah, blah. And several of the witnesses who came forward saying this actually are Muslim themselves, who reported that this is what they heard before this incident happened. So now the defense attorney is coming out and saying, actually, he's Christian. And the fact that, here's what he said, quote, "If it's easily proven beyond a reasonable doubt, let's just say that he's Christian and he's not Muslim, it casts a lot of doubt on whatever witnesses are saying," said attorney Arthur Aidala, who's familiar with the case but not working on it. So now there's like all this contention about what's actually going on, what actually was the motivation, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm going to be honest, when I first heard about this and there was less information coming out, but the information available was reporting that he explicitly cited Islam before he stabbed this man. Like, I was going around, because this stabbing is being investigated as a hate crime in the United States. And if it is found to be a hate crime, this would be one of the most prominent hate crimes that have happened in years. Anti-gay hate crimes that would have happened in years in the United States. So blatant, in public, just in the middle of Brooklyn, which in the middle of New York, a historically very prominently important city in gay culture. And given what's going on with the culture war in the US, blah, 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 like it's very pertinent, right? And when I was first hearing about this, and there was no reaction from the media, like open, especially from LGBT news sources, talking about that the suspect at that time was, witnesses were saying, was explicitly citing Islam before the stabbing, I was so pissed. I was like, why are we not having an open and honest conversation about the motivations behind this? Because I get really, really disgusted when the LGBT community in particular will jump at the opportunity to talk about Christian persecution against them, will actively cover up when there's persecution from Muslims against them. This is a trend we see with my community. And so I had a very strong reaction to this, because I take that kind of thing really seriously, and I really hate that hypocrisy.
Hmm.
However, you know, there's more information coming out from the defense attorneys, blah, 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 where it's like, okay, maybe that wasn't the motivation. We don't know. So it is, of course, important to not jump on it, you know, because there is always more information that could come out. But that contention really, really bothered me because the only people I saw at the time speaking honestly about what happened or what we believe to have happened as of that point were like LGBT Muslims. Like really going hard talking about like, why are we not openly acknowledging what's going on here? Now there are some new statements that are casting doubt on exactly maybe what the motivations were, what went down, witness statements, blah, blah, blah. But all that being said, Armin, with all that extra context that I just gave, what is your reaction?
So just because I was thinking, what does it matter if the guy was Christian or Muslim? But the idea is that we heard some reports about the guy saying that this is because Islam, like it was, but and then now if it comes out that he's Christian, the problem with this case is that everything that was seen is going to be doubted because of this, right? So because when we're trying to see if it's a hate crime or not, we want to see what happened, and people are saying that they heard him saying some Islamic stuff and now saying like apparently he's Christian. So now everything that has been described about what went on is now being questioned, and now we don't know if they could call it the hate crime or not, because we don't know exactly what happened. Is that the summary of what's going on?
Basically, it is still actively being investigated as a hate crime.
Right,
The
but,
mayor
like, can
came
the
out
guy-
and made a big statement about it.
Can the guy just say I'm a Christian just so that to cast doubt on everything that is being said about him?
That's also true. That
Right.
would be convenient. But you know, there has to be a wealth and body of evidence to support such a thing. And if their defense attorneys are coming out and saying that, I mean, I'm not saying all attorneys are good attorneys, but you have to be very, very careful in what you say as a defendant, right?
Right.
And I wouldn't say something like that unless I had something to back it up with. But then again,
Right.
I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, let me read some of these comments. What has this got to do with that? Democrats made New York City very dangerous. Okay. Stay with your BS. What? These are some homophobic people. I'm not going to read that. Oh, look, you want to read this one?
It says this. Oh yeah, so here's an example. This person has a rainbow Muhammad as their icon, as their avatar.
Yeah.
It says, quote, "This gang of men were from a certain religion of peace that condemns homosexuality as a punishable sin within Sharia law. If they were Christian, would this have been reported?" Well, that's the thing. I actually think if it is confirmed that this man is a Christian in the popular media narrative, that would actually be jumped on much more than if it was confirmed that he was a Muslim. I think that would be seized upon in an instant.
Really? You think so?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. When there are domestic terrorists that are Christians or like have kind of a white Christian nationalist bent, that is seized upon instantly.
This is the first time.
Meanwhile, with like the Orlando Pulse Club shooting, like the fact that murderer's background was like actively, what's the word I'm looking for? De-emphasized.
Right. I mean, this guy, shouldn't it be easy to figure out if somebody was Christian or Muslim? Like the person has no social media activity, doesn't go to mosque. People can tell like if he was praying or not. Or is it just like this? I don't know. It's weird that this is a question.
And depending on what actually happened, I want to be clear, like depending on what prosecutors and the defense attorneys rule, like, or determine actually happened, the religion of the suspect might actually be irrelevant at the end of the day. But the reason
Yeah.
why I'm talking about it now is because of the reporting that's available to us. It seems that there was a motivation because of that, based on what's available to me right now.
Right. Well, I mean, it's also important to, people might think like, okay, somebody died. Why are you trying to figure out if this was Islamic or Christian? Because we need to understand what's causing spreading the hatred, right? And which one is doing it more. And we need to realize the process at which this happens, the details, like what is it's not enough to just be like, oh, it's Islam or it's Christianity. These needs to be studied, the step-by-step process, the radicalization process. If you want to see less of this, you need to understand all the details. We need to have people who study society and behavior and psychology and trends. They're people who dedicate their entire lives studying these things, and a better understanding of all of these trends is what gets us to a point where we could come up with solutions, right? And a lot of people on the internet just simplify these things. Even we understand that Islam, Christianity, religion are forces behind many of these actions, but there's a lot more detail to it than that. You can't just be like, oh, Islam, like, okay, Islam, how exactly? And how exactly it differs from one place, from not just from one country to another, but also from one city to another and from one community to another, right? So I think like there's a lot of details to this, and we don't have time to go through that, but I just want us to recognize that there's a lot more to it than just calling out the name of a religion or a cult or whatever. Anyways, yeah.
I agree with you. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Right.
Because there are a lot of times where like media will actually make like the religion of someone more relevant than it necessarily actually is in any given action. But sometimes it is very relevant in understanding the context, the motivation, the influences that lead to things like this. I think that's like the lens that I want to take.
Right. I think there's a lot of people like to simplify things, both people who want to emphasize that it's the religion and people who want to really, take attention away from the religion. I think people on our side who want to emphasize the religion, they simplify things sometimes too much, a lot of times actually, and make it seem like, oh, you just need to name Islam and that's done. That's all that needs to be done. That's it. Everything it just explains itself. And then people on the other side also think like, nope, really, it's regardless of the religion. Religion has no influence, right? But again, I think we have to understand that whatever we see happen in society is multifactorial. It's rarely just one thing, and the process always differs. And we like to simplify things because we really want to understand why things happen. And if it's simple, then we feel comfort because now we understand it. And for that comfort, if it's too complicated, we think is out of reach, and we don't like it because it brings uncertainty, and uncertainty brings a sense of insecurity, like lack of security,
fear,
and we don't like that. Yeah, that's why we make God. God simplifies why things happen. All right. So there's that. Can we now
got
clap?
a few super chats.
Oh yes.
Master of Darkness gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you. Saying, I like the show. Well, thank you. I like that you help support the show.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Gasian American said, if going to church turns you into an unaliver, you should stop going. I would agree. I am anti-unaliver, generally speaking.
Right. Oh my God.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Generally, not always, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, self-defense, all those things.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Like murder, bad.
That's our
So-
official position.
Yes.
We're so brave.
So brave. Let's go to the next news.
Okay. Oh, wait, can I put you on full screen and be back?
Okay.
I got guys. People say why I keep taking go. I stay hydrated. Okay, you should too. It's good for you. That's why I have to keep going during the middle of the show.
I know,
okay?
but what's crazy is that you're a man, so you have a larger bladder and you take so many pee breaks. And I myself have a tiny bladder and I have to stay here for the whole show.
Well, no, you could take a break while I talk
Can
to
I?
the chat.
Can
Yes.
I?
Yes.
Can? Really?
Yes. You could go. You gonna go right now? I'll talk to the chat.
No, it's fine. You go.
Okay.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wait. Yeah, you're
wanna
making
clap with
this
me?
into. Yeah, I want to clap with you, but oh yeah, you're making this into a sexism thing for some reason. Like I just drink
I'm
water.
joking.
I know. I'm joking as well. All right. Let me clap with you before I go. Okay. Oh, this is India Hinduism related. India and Hinduism. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. Okay. Next news.
Next news. Is Indian superstition replacing rationality?
Wait, you need to do it from scratch because you said next. You started saying it while I was still on. So okay.
This is why I hate
Wait,
your
let me
pee breaks. It's not even the pee breaks, it's this nonsense.
Okay. One more time. Next news.
Next news. Is Indian superstition replacing rationality in academia? In a startling collision of myth and science, India's top academic institutions are witnessing an infusion of Hindu mythology and belief systems into the educational curriculum, and it's creating a storm of controversy. Propelled by growing Hindu nationalism and support from the government, pseudoscience is finding its way into classrooms and conferences. One eye-catching example is the Akash for Life conference, aiming to fuse ancient Hindu wisdom with modern scientific advancement, a move condemned by many within the Indian scientific community. The nonprofit India March for Science responded pointedly, stating that such concepts have been deleted from science books a long time back. The trend even includes outlandish claims by educators, including G. Nageswara Rao, who insisted that characters from the Hindu epic Mahabharata were born of stem cell and test tube technology. This alarming marriage of mythology and science has raised red flags among experts who fear a dangerous drift from reason and empirical evidence, and an education system in which fantasy begins to masquerade as fact. Are you back? There we go.
Yes.
Yes. So I wanted to cover this because I read two really interesting articles about basically the infiltration of pseudoscience and homeopathy, Ayurveda, all this stuff into Indian science and textbooks. And I thought that this would be interesting to cover because over the past years, we get recommended a lot of articles about many different examples of this pseudoscience actually replacing scientific fact in popular and public curriculum. To the point that I don't even choose to cover it as often because it's like so frequent, it would get like redundant. So I thought that this would be kind of like a good way to do a review, shall we say. And I'm sure we have a lot of people in the live chat watching from India. So if you have a favorite example of the pseudoscience that you've heard of, maybe in one state or a certain city, blah, blah, blah. If you have an example, feel free to drop it in the chat because there's a lot that I haven't even heard of. So I'm curious what you guys know of. So one of the examples that I particularly loved, oh God, okay. And I need to preface this. YouTube, we are reporting on the false claims by others. We are stating these as an effort to dispute and refute these claims. These are not our claims. Go seek professional help, medical assistance, blah, blah, blah. Okay, YouTube gods, we have given the creed, the ablutions. We beg for forgiveness and mercy. Okay, that being said, let me give some examples. Guys, make sure to like this stream because YouTube hates when we talk about this, but it's important and we have fun doing it. Here's a quote. Many experts have tied the rise of, so here's an example. Many experts have tied the rise of pseudoscience in India to the rise of the BJP coming to power in 2014. Members of the party have repeatedly amplified scientific falsehoods, for instance, that cow urine can cure cancer or that ancient Indians invented the internet. And what was really interesting about this article was it was talking about how there are lots of people within the scientific community in India that hate this, actively oppose this, and want to work hard to strengthen India's reputation globally. They want India to be known as having scientific rigor globally. They want to earn that respect. They want India and the potential of the nation to be understood and recognized and appreciated around the world. So they have very strong feelings about opposing these kinds of beliefs and the imposition of these beliefs, not only just in scientific conferences, but within academic and teaching curricula itself, right? But they are basically disincentivized from doing this because it can cost them in their own personal career. And it can also cost them funding, especially when there are politicians from the ruling party that want to promote these kinds of beliefs, holding the purse strings, so to speak, of grants, of departmental funding, institutional funding, maybe, or even in form of donations. So yada, yada, yada. So that itself is another huge contention that Indian scientists are facing. There was one example that I really loved. Wait, let me find it. Oh yeah. Okay. It's a problem that has many academics here worried. As India becomes increasingly polarized, coordinated efforts to popularize pseudoscientific theories and to aggrandize the nation's own scientific past have begun to gain ground, they say. It's a worrying mashup of nationalism, religion, and scientific bunkum that appears to have an increasingly easy sell, and one that leaves the population both misinformed and perennially at odds with itself. Quote, "That is why our leaders and scientists talk about how evolution is wrong," said Aniket Sule, an astrophysicist and a colleague of Karandikar at HBCSE. Quote, or how Indians were the first to invent atomic theory, or how cow worship is scientific. There was another example of how there was a national level test on cow science. And obviously, because it's considered sacred in Hinduism. And the syllabus for the exam, quote, made claims including that earthquakes happened due to cow slaughter and that cow byproducts were capable of curing disease, like cow mantra, like that kind of thing. I love the idea that cow slaughter causes earthquakes. Like, I want to know exactly, what is the mechanism? What is the material mechanism from cow slaughter to earthquake? Like, what happens in between?
I think it's the exact same mechanism that gay sex leads to earthquakes in the US. Or gay sex leads to, I think it's the same.
But that mechanism is God's anger and God's fury. The mechanism is God's punishment. Right? That's obviously going to be a very different conception than in Hinduism.
Well, I mean, it's what? How cows are related to a specific god or goddess at all in Hinduism, or no? I think it would be that god. It's It's basically. Oh, it's karma. It's the karma thing. I think it's
I know.
going. Wait, it's karma. It's karma.
No.
No,
Karma is accrued across lifetimes.
is it's what is it? We have to talk to an expert, guys. We need an expert in Hindu nonsense. Can you please explain that to us?
Abhijit was saying cows single-handedly hold down the tectonic plates.
Yeah, no,
We
okay,
need to carefully place cows on the
Okay.
tectonic plates to keep everything pinned down.
Okay, here's how it works. Okay, things work out in general if you move in the path of dharma. Okay, so it's going out of the path of dharma that leads to an instability in the universe, right? So that's how I explain it. Is that a good, guys? Hindu experts in the live chat. I'm just saying, because you're not following your dharma when you're killing a cow, that's what leads to instabilities within nature, and that's what causes earthquakes. Is that good? Is that good? Is that good Hindu nonsense? Like, is that a high quality Hindu nonsense? Okay, tell me if I did good. But here's the thing I want to say. This is such a shame. Like, I don't know if people understand the cost associated with this. Like, I think people get angry when somebody is killed for because of religion, or somebody's being discriminated against, and justifiably so. But I don't know if I understand this makes people less angry because they can't the cost associated with it is not directly in front of you. You can't see exactly the people who are being hurt, because it's like a multi-step process that is going to lead. Like, this kills more people than somebody like doing a hate crime on an individual. Your country falling a bit behind in technology and science, that kills more people. The potential uh, the economic cost associated with this, and falling poverty, for example. If your country is not growing out of poverty as fast as it could be, people die for that. More people die because of that. And let me make this clear. India is, unlike what many Indian leftists will tell you in the live chat, and there's a lot of them here, okay? So, because they like our show, because we crap on Hinduism, right? So because we crap on Hinduism, there's a lot of people from India who are leftists who come watch our show. And unlike what many of them will tell you, India is on the path to become an economic superpower, right? And India has so much going for it. India is filled with entrepreneurs that are competing with other people in the tech industry on a global level and are crushing it. Russia is now pulling its hair out because it doesn't want to fall behind on India when it comes to space exploration. Russia, who used to be a country that was competing with the United States in space exploration and technology, has to worry about India passing it. That's how far India is, right? And no matter what nonsense these people do, India will still grow. India is an unstoppable force on a global level, okay? And even with all of this nonsense, it will still grow. So the question of whether India is going to grow economically and technologically and scientifically, it's not a question of if, okay? This is happening. Nobody can stop India. But the speed of it, even if it's reduced by the slightest, we're talking about the second most populated country in the world. The effect on people, it's astronomical. And the only thing, this is when we say religion poisons everything, this is what we're talking about. The consequences of nonsense like this in the education system on a country that is advancing in technology and science and economic progress so much is devastating. Even if you just have a 1%, and this is going to have a big impact. So the question is how much you grow. India will grow, India will progress very fast, but this is going to slow that down. And people are not going to recognize, many people are not going to recognize that this is going to slow that down because it's still growing. But something could have, become 100 times better or 50 times better, and people think, well, still getting better. Yeah, but the opportunity cost, the missed opportunities of things, of the progress that you're not going to make, this slowing that down, this is worse than any other country. The reason why this is worse than almost many other countries is because the effect on the higher number of people, like globally. And again, and this is not, the cost is not just to Indians. India progressing, it's good for the planet. Like, if you're watching this in Canada, this is going to ruin your life in Canada or in France, because a richer India is a richer planet. A richer India is good for the economy of France, of South Africa, of Bangladesh, of even Pakistan, right? And China. These people with this religious mumbo jumbo, by affecting the speed of progress of India, they are screwing the world. And again, I want to mention to D, because I don't want people to think that this is an anti-India sentiment, because who's fighting this? The people who are, and I don't think these people themselves understand how important they are, because they're saying much respect. They're saying much respect to the Indian YouTubers fighting this trend and all the other activists. I think these activists and YouTubers, they don't understand that what they're doing is saving the planet, because we need India. Just like when China's economic progress has lifted the entire planet out of poverty, now it's India's turn. India lifting itself up and progressing is going to destroy poverty on a level that a lot of people don't understand. And Hinduism is slowing that down. Do you understand when we say Hinduism is poison, Hinduism is screwing the world? Now, on a scale like that we couldn't imagine, this is what we're talking about. When we say religion ruins lives, we're not just talking about acts of violence here and there. This is how religion ruins lives, more than acts of violence, more than war even sometimes. So more than like somebody's, going choppy on someone somewhere else. Like when we talk about like somebody because of Hinduism doing a human sacrifice, people will like, oh my God, Hinduism so harmful. Okay. But that's one person that somewhere, this is the poison that Hinduism is, more than that, more than human sacrifice and stuff like that. This kills more people than that. Anyways, I went on a rant. Sorry for.
You're spitting today. God damn. No, but I like it when you frame it that way, because I don't know, like, I don't know how to explain to people how excited I am for India's future. Like, I'm so thrilled. I'm so excited to see it. Like, I want that. I want prosperity to benefit more people's lives, right? So I completely track with what you're saying.
Yeah. By the way, Dee mentioned in the chat to please scroll down to introduce these content creators. Yes, thank you so much, Dee, for including these. Do you want to ask? Do you want to, like? I think this is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah. You're scrolling right past it. You're stop.
There,
Nope.
you hear this one?
There we go.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of these content creators who's tackling this issue is Prana Rana Krishnam. And he goes by @scienceisdope_ on Twitter. I refuse to call X. And he puts forward like content kind of battling a lot of these unscientific claims. And I know that there are a lot of local or statewide organizations that help combat superstition. Like we covered the activism of one of these people, I believe it was in the state of Haryana. They have a big rationalism movement there. Unfortunately, I can't remember their actual like local name, right? Because everything's translated to English. But I'm so excited by in the movement of rationalism in South Asia. And I'm overall very frustrated by how the long history of rationalism within the subcontinent is really not highlighted or appreciated in the so-called West. Right. Especially because then there are people that say like, oh, don't say that, it's offensive, it's against their culture, their tradition, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, you have no appreciation for the hundreds or thousands of years of history of rationalism coming out of this part of the world. Like, how dare you say that this person is less from their culture, that they're not Indian, blah, 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 because they firmly reject Hinduism. Right. Some of the most seminal people in the history of the subcontinent have been very strong in asserting their rejection of Hinduism while asserting their pride and their civil work for that very same nation. You know what I mean? These things shouldn't be seen as opposites or exclusive.
Yeah. Exactly. This is actually a very good point, because a lot of people think that we're anti-India because we are pointing out how Hinduism is destructive to India and the harm that it does. Okay. But India itself has a history and a tradition of fighting of movements that are fighting superstition and dogma like this, right? So, and that deserves a celebration. So if that's anti-Indian, and then all of these movements that are born within India, they're also anti-India, which is nonsensical. And I think actually the people who are pushing this superstitious nonsense, especially in the government and in the education system, they are anti-India. Like the people who are, they think, especially a lot of Indian nationalists who, in the name of protecting India, come and spread this nonsense everywhere. They are the ones who are hurting India more than anyone else, I think.
Insecurity and an inferiority complex.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally what this is born out of.
I can't think of anything other than global warming that is more harmful to India. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I can't just think of anything, right? More than global warming, I think like religion, Hinduism, and superstition is the second biggest threat to India's progress after global warming. I mean, I know there might be something out there. I just can't think of those. That's how big of danger, big of a poison, harmful of a poison religion is to India right now. And it's such a shame. So much potential is being lost because of this nonsense. Okay.
Let's go through. Can you go through the super chats while I take my break? My bathroom break?
Yes, of course. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Put yourself down. All right. So Oxymoron is saying, thank you so much for the support, everybody. Oxymoron is saying, AR shows a Stoic CBT link. West ponders Ether. What is that? Do you know how to? Okay, but Brown exploring interrelationship between metaphysics with science should be taboo. Okay, so Oxymoron doesn't understand that Stoicism is not metaphysics, And there is oxymoron, guys, by the way, is a self-admitted racist in our self-admitted, like he himself says that, who's trying to use super chats as a way to suggest that me and Susanna are racist. So now this is what he's doing here. He's trying to suggest that we are biased against brown people and in favor of white people, because we are saying we have a double standard here. It's just interesting how me and Susanna are so careful not to speak as if we have a bias against brown people or Indian. You saw, like, for example, during the show, I'm constantly aware of that. And Dee was aware of that as well. And Susanna is aware of that as well. That's why we try to celebrate whenever we're pointing out some problems within, superstitious problems, religious problems within India. We want to make sure that the people who are watching us don't come up with a biased anti-brown or anti-India perspective. So we take our time to celebrate the people from within India that are fighting against the superstition as well. So Oxymoron is desperate to try to paint us as racist, but I think me and Susanna and Dee and our team is doing a very good job to make sure that not only we don't say something that is bigoted, but also unintentionally our viewers don't take a message like that. But again, Oxymoron is very insecure, and that's why every time we talk about Hinduism, like, he has an inferiority conflict. I think Oxymoron is kind of has this sense of bigotry against Indian himself, because he feels very insecure whenever we talk about India or criticize something within India or about Hinduism. He feels attacked personally. So that's why he wants to use the super chat in some way to try to paint us as racist. So here this is what he's doing here as well. So first of all, and he doesn't understand anything what he's talking about. It's disgusting how in India people are trying to use metaphysical mumbo jumbo and link that to science. That's completely nonsensical, and we do point that out when white people apparently or Westerners do that as well, with modern superstitions, New Age religion in the West, and Christianity, in the West. We highlight that all the time. So this is not about West versus brown mentality that Oxymoron is trying to paint here. So the thing with Stoicism is actually Stoics themselves were completely against, they were materialists. So this is what Oxymoron doesn't understand. Stoics were materialists. This was not metaphysics. Actually, they were some. It was a school of thought that called out superstitious beliefs like that. And maybe if Oxymoron actually studied something before he criticized that would be a good thing. Go on. Let me finish my point first before you say something about this, okay? Also, Stoicism and CBT is linked. The people within CBT, they have completely mentioned that. The link is there. So we're not making this up. Anyways, Susie, go on.
There are some schools of Stoic thought that do have a metaphysical aspect to them. Those are not the aspects of Stoicism as a philosophy that is present in cognitive behavioral therapy as an intervention.
Right. That's a good point. That is also,
it's like literally
that's
that simple.
Yeah, and also, but that's also,
and we're not drawing a link. The fathers of cognitive behavioral therapy have explicitly cited this mentality that is imbued through Stoic thought, quote unquote, as the inspiration for their clinical intervention. We're not making it up.
Okay, so let's just be clear. When we're talking about metaphysics, different people mean different things, right? When Oxymoron is using and people use that interchangeably, so metaphysics, sometimes in philosophy, when people talk about metaphysics, they are talking about answering certain questions, answers to specific questions, right? And if somebody here And if that version, by that definition, that philosophical definition of metaphysics, obviously Stoicism was supposed to be a school of thought that answers everything, including metaphysical questions, obviously. But the way oxymoron, and people don't understand, some people are saying like, oh, Armin, you're wrong. Stoicism was also metaphysics, idealism. You're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. You just don't understand what I'm responding to. But in day-to-day use, when sometimes people talk about metaphysics, they are trying to refer to something that is unscientific or supernatural or beyond science, or like mumbo jumbo stuff, right? So Stoics themselves were completely materialistics, and even when they had a disagreement with Epicureans about the use of words like God. Like Epicureans even considered that to be superstitious, but Stoics use the word God. But if you actually look how that seems like a contradiction between that ideology and them being complete materialistics. But the way that they use gods was kind of like Spinoza's God, because they considered the entirety of nature to be God. So it's not a contradiction with their materialist mindset. And in any case, there are many things in Stoic philosophies that I don't agree with, but again, the link is there. And just because even if there are parts of philosophy, as Susanna mentioned, that we don't agree with, that doesn't mean that it was good inspiration for something that is completely scientific based, right? Yeah. Anyways, I think we made that point. All right. Do you want to go through the other super chats yourself?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of other super chats. Gasian American gave us $5. Thank you, Gasian. Saying, my brother's in paganism. This hystorophilia is why we lost to the colonizers. Do not repeat this mistake. And this is what led to the Cultural Revolution. I love that. My brother's in paganism. Stay on the straight path, my brothers. Do not repeat your mistakes. Shikha, thank you for the super chat, Shikha, saying one pseudoscientific theory I heard was that the moon landing is fake because most of them hate the USA. Interesting. I have not heard that theory coming out of the India before. I have heard that, like the ancient Indians invented like spacecraft first. That's a popular one I have heard, but this one's new. Gage gave another super chat saying all Devis are a piece of Shakti. All cows are part of Shakti, are a piece of Shakti. The earth is Prithvi Devi, a piece of Shakti. So I guess that's the correlation between cows and earthquakes.
It makes sense now.
Thank you,
I got it.
We have an explanation now. Now it all makes sense, and I think you might be onto something.
Yes.
Kenny gave us a super chat, just €5. Thank you, Kenny. No statement.
Sorry. Yeah.
And Gasian gave us another super chat saying, during the Boxer Rebellion, people believed Taoist Buddhist Kung Fu protected you from bullets. Yes, that is a real thing that happened. And let's just say that will definitely impede your insurgency. Yeah. Just do a little, Kung Fu. That's not going to work. This isn't the Matrix, guys.
No.
That's not going to work for you. And I saw that you highlighted a bunch of comments about someone being hurt about.
This is somebody who's up. Yeah, somebody's obsessed with me, and I think they're using 2 accounts. Big Man is saying, Armin has nightmares about Islam growing. He cannot stop Islam from growing. And then he says, I think it's the same person because he's using the same kind of language. If it's a different person, then that's even more impressive that 2 people in the live chat are saying this, right? Strong Muslim is saying, Armin has 24/7 nightmares about Islam. And then, Islam is growing. Atheist Republic. I feel sorry for Armin's mental health. I hope he takes meds for his nightmares. Oh my God. I don't know. This is kind of fun. Please don't go away.
That's
People
amazing.
Are like...
Armin, how do you feel knowing that the Sharia is coming around the corner?
This is too good. God. Is it the same person? Okay, I don't know if it's the same person because one of them is using all caps, the other one isn't. If we have two people like this in a life chat, that's very impressive. That's very interesting.
Let's go to the
Okay.
next news.
Can we clap for the next news?
We don't like this, but we can clap.
Okay. Next news.
Next news, Iraq forces media to use sexual deviance instead of homosexuality. In a move that has shocked human rights activists, Iraq is planning to force media outlets and social media platforms to replace the word homosexuality with the phrase, quote, sexual deviance. The Iraqi Communications and Media Commission, or CMC for short, confirmed this plan change, also revealing a ban on the use of the word gender. Amnesty International has vehemently condemned this decision, and with Aya Majzoub, the organization's deputy director for the Middle East and North Africa region, stating that, quote, the CMC's ban on the word homosexuality and insistence that the media use sexual deviance instead is a dangerous move that can fuel discrimination and violent attacks against members of the LGBT community. Majzoub added that the decision demonstrates, quote, a callous disregard for combating gender-based violence at a time when such crimes are reportedly on the rise within the country. The announcement has further ignited concerns over freedom of expression and non-discrimination in Iraq. So I thought this would obviously be very interesting to cover. So now you're no longer just allowed to like call it homosexuality. You're only allowed to refer to it explicitly as a deviance, which obviously when you're controlling speech in general, but then it's just like you're not allowed to refer to it in a more neutral way. You have to refer to it in a way that is explicitly negative and pejorative, right? And also just banning, like, you're not allowed to just say the word gender. And I don't know if this is a women's rights thing or more of a backlash against transgender thing. If I had to guess, it would be more in the female vein, because it's really funny to me when people get upset about the word gender, like the word gender studies. Like if you hear the phrase gender studies, you're probably going to think, oh, this is going to be a studies of women's movements, right? As if only women have a gender. Or if you think ethnic studies in the American context, you'd be thinking about ethnic minorities when really everyone has an ethnicity. You know what I'm saying? So that's why people are saying that putting prescriptions on the word like gender can have negative consequences to more accurately addressing violence against vulnerable people like women and females in society. But Armin, what is your reaction?
What is the point of this exactly? Like, what does this achieve? What do you know what led to this?
There are some people saying that this might be kind of a consequence of all the action and contention surrounding the Quran burnings that have been happening in Iraq, like a more generalized backlash. But there has been a movement for a growing movement in Iraq that is anti-LGBT, and it's being partially led by how do you say his name? Mutalaq al-Sadr. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, who's a highly influential Shia cleric. There's in the past year, he's been more boldly anti-LGBT. It's something that I've been kind of like watching in the background. And that obviously has a huge implication. Armin, like for people who don't know about al-Sadr's like influence, how would you describe who he is and why he's important and why that matters that it's him putting this out there?
Well, I mean, he's the biggest Shia political force outside of Iranian influence right now in Iraq, right? And it's the main one that is challenging Iranian authority among the Shia population there as well, which, by the way, he just got tricked out of anyway, that's too much detail. Anyway, so he's a major both political and military force within Iraq with a lot of military influence, like militia influence, religious influence and political influence. One guy has all that influence, right? So he's a big deal. He's a very, 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 very big deal in Iraqi politics. But I wonder, like, because this is a guy that when he moves, when he makes a move politically, it's not because, like, he's very good at, well, I mean, recently he's screwed up, but he makes calculated moves within politics. So this is actually a good way to try to understand these things, because a lot of atheists, when they watch news like this and they say, oh yeah, mullah, religious person, came out against gay, LGBT, they're like, okay, this is just their religion, obviously this is what they do. But if you understand the political games that these people play, you understand that this is religion being used for a different goal. So what could be, we could play a game, like, okay, what goal could be, what is the move here? What is the answer is rarely, oh, this is just what they say because they believe it Islamically. Islam is obviously part of the equation, but there's usually more to it than that. So here, if what we had to guess is that this brings you political capital. Like, I would guess that there's something happening behind the scenes or something that if we dive deeper into this, we would understand. That somebody is making a move to be against somebody else, or to take attention. Oh, so it's either a move against somebody else, or to bring attention away from something else, or to highlight your position Islamically within at a time that is needed, to show that you are a defender of Islam, to increase your political capital. So it could be any of these things. Or maybe you're not being, another thing is that maybe you haven't been talked about for a while and people are forgetting your influence, and you want to make sure that you are on the news and that you're being talked about, your name is on people's tongues. These are all different reasons that could be there. I don't know which one of these are, but this is my experience when it comes to stuff like this. Like, if you follow, I follow Iranian politics a lot more, right? So when you see a mullah coming out and saying something about hijab, there's more to that story. There's something political happening that makes that mullah come and say that. So I'm suspecting that's exactly what's happening here in Iraq as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, it serves a utility.
Yeah, exactly. A political utility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh wait, there was some comment. Was there comments here? Yeah, this one. Look at this. I don't know. Look at, and they aren't wrong for this. Like, these people. So Iraq bans media for using homosexuality. Says they must use sexual deviance. And somebody's commenting they aren't wrong for this. I want to see where this person is from. Is this like a? I can't say, it doesn't say, but I feel like there's a lot of agreement between Christians and Muslims regarding stuff like this. Oh, this one is making this person is making a joke. So this is sarcasm, obviously. Someone is saying banning wars always goes well. So that was sarcasm. This one is saying, well, they ain't wrong, are they? Oh my God. Look at the state of the West and our ever-growing tolerance of all manner of perversions. It is sick and it ain't right. See, this is bigots from the West and bigots from the East and the Middle East uniting over their bigotry. Their bigotry is bringing them together. All right. Cool. Are we... Hold on. Okay, are we ready for the
next news?
Yes. Is it clappable?
Well, we don't like this.
We don't like this? Okay, so should I not clap?
Well, I mean, probably not.
Oh, we had a super chat. Another super chat by Oxymoron. So let me just address this. Oxymoron is saying, for Tesla explored Akash to form relationships between matter and energy. Same story, like you said, about Stoicism. By the way, I just pointed out inconsistently, and rightly so. Okay, so those were words. They were not very. They were not used very well. You're not very good at explaining things, Oxymoron. I think you're pointing out that some scientific people use um, pseudoscience mumbo jumbo to connect things together, and that doesn't actually prove your point at all. Newton, for example, had many pseudoscientific beliefs, and that was separate, and actually that hurted his science. Like the fact that they try to do these things, sometimes it didn't make them come up with the scientific explanations that they did. It actually often reduced the scientific gifts that they had for humanity. For example, go look at Newton. If Newton was not distracted by all this biblical and pseudoscientific mumbo jumbo, his contribution to the world of science would have been so much more than even what he had contributed. So yeah, your point actually doesn't make the point that you think it does. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go through the other news faster. Okay, so you said no clapping, right? I don't remember if
Yeah.
you said no clapping. Okay, no clapping. Next news.
Next news. Taliban enforces shocking ban. Girls over 10 years denied education. In a devastating blow to education and women's rights in Afghanistan, the Taliban has drawn a dark line in the sand, banning girls over the age of 10 from attending primary school in some provinces. This harrowing decree resonates with dismay and disbelief, as it follows the group's previous suppressive edicts, including prohibiting older girls and women from attending schools and universities. A sixth grade girl from eastern Afghanistan, encapsulating the heartache and shattered dreams, told the BBC, "We were told that girls who are tall and over 10 years old are not allowed to enter the school." This latest restriction is not just another policy, but a crushing symbol of the extremist group's relentless drive to extinguish the aspirations and potentials of a generation of Afghan women. It's a stark reminder that the struggle for education and empowerment in the region is far from over, leaving the world to grapple with the haunting question: what future awaits these young girls? So, yeah, based on the reporting that I've seen so far, this is something that is being implemented at a more local level, kind of in some specific provinces. I haven't seen reporting demonstrating that it's like a nationwide edict. Following to what we usually talk about when we talk about the Taliban, meaning like there isn't one Taliban, right? There's a lot of variation and difference in different regions. But I guess I wanted to talk about this because I just don't want people to not pay attention to what's happening in Afghanistan. I oftentimes feel very powerless. I mean, because I guess in a sense we really are, but just our own powerlessness or inability to I guess, be more direct in intervention or solutions doesn't mean that we should just not pay attention to what's happening to millions of people. You know what I mean? I don't know, Armin, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that's good, Ted. You bring this. Girls over 10 years old denied education. This is, again, I want you also people to understand this is basically the same cost that we talked about India. I don't know if people understand that the denying girls education, basically the biggest one of the biggest resources countries have is not their minerals, it's not their oil, it's basically the human capital. It's the human investment in their in their people, right? And basically Afghanistan has decided to not invest in its most important resource, in half of it, in half the population, right? So so just like we were talking about India, all of this religious mumbo jumbo making it into education, the cost associated with that is bigger than even Hindu radicals going out and like going choppy on people, or that is even more harmful. Here in Afghanistan, like we think about Taliban being like killing and doing some torture and stuff, and this is actually more harmful. This is more harmful to Afghanistan than them like executing people sometimes for doing something. This action by Taliban kills more people than the direct act of violence that right now they're doing to some people under rule. Imagine the years of progress that Afghanistan is going to be left behind because of half of the population not having access to education.
Yeah, it's
economic
not
cost,
even
yeah.
it's that's a really good point, because I kind of get a little bit frustrated when people are like, oh, this is such a waste of like this generation of young girls. But people need to realize that this affects not just like a single generation or only young girls. This knocks down the nation at the knees across the board.
Yes.
Drastically changes the quality of life for everyone, regardless of sex.
Yeah.
Economically,
years of delayed and
economically crippling yourself. This is way more than a lost generation.
Yeah.
Not that we shouldn't care about girls, obviously, but sometimes I want people to not reduce it to that. You know what I mean?
Right. Poverty, here's how I'll simplify it like this, okay? Poverty kills, education lifts the country out of poverty. Every year, every time education is being mixed with superstition, like in India, or people are not being educated, every single year, even the slightest amount of that is reducing the economic progress a country can make, and therefore killing people. And there's no way to recover this, because even if you do recover this, your country is now years behind. And even if you recover, you could have been more ahead if this had never happened. You can't. This is the damage that can't be undone. You could only reduce it by trying to get rid of it as fast as possible. And again, this is happening in a country where it needs this education the most right now. This is the best way to lift people out of poverty, is education. And in one of the poorest countries in the world, that tool is being taken away from people. Unbelievable. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
I think, I don't know, it's really hard for me to, because you and Armin, both of us have like a really low tolerance for like suffering and misery. And I just, when I see stuff like this, I just think about the consequence of how much misery will come from this, you know? And it's really hard for me to just like look on and feel like there's nothing that we can do. But what we can do is like talk about it, not forget about it, right? And try to lift up people that are doing things to make changes in one way or another. So I know, for one example, there's the organization Idea Beyond Borders. And I know that Ideas Beyond Borders does work to help fund secret women's education in Afghanistan. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I would encourage you to look that up. And there's this quote that Lucifer, thank you for putting this in the live chat. This reminded me, because I was trying to think of this quote and you gave it to me. Thank you. He's saying, reminds me of the quote from Christopher Hitchens. The cure for poverty has a name. In fact, it's called the empowerment of women. Statistically, we should know this to be true.
Right. Just to be clear, this is not like, women are more important than men kind of thing. Okay, this quote, because if for some reason men were not educated and women were, then the cure for poverty would be empowerment of men, right? Like basically the part that is missing, obviously that would be the part that if you work on, that would lift people out of poverty, right? So this is not something about inherent or something like that. It's just like women, given that half the population has been left behind in education and empowerment, that's exactly how undoing that is exactly how you bring a society out of poverty. Yeah. Good quote.
Abijanu wants to know what the Farsi on my wall says. Should I walk people through this?
Yes, do that.
Okay.
Wait.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, this one says Azadi to Nafrush. And this one says Jumhuriye bi Khodayan. Okay. Okay.
Wait, translate. You didn't translate.
So on top, it says Azadit Nafrush. That means don't sell your freedom. And then down here, Jumhuriye bi Khodayan. That means Atheist Republic or Republic of the
Yes.
Godless.
Atheist Republic is good. Yeah, that's good. That's pretty good. I like it.
Azadit Nafrush
Okay.
is a line from my favorite Persian rap song.
Oh. I like that quote. Yeah, that's so beautiful.
The song is so good. It's like Azadit Nafrush, Azadit Nafrush.
Okay.
Oh man, I want to start talking about this song now. The chorus is so good.
Okay. You rush when I'm talking about the news. You rush me through it, so we need to. Okay. All right, let's move on. Can we? I know people are enjoying you saying. Sorry, guy, I'm not going to be the evil guy who's not letting you express yourself. We could have an entire stream. By the way, people love when you talk about the things that you enjoy or things that you discovered. We could have a show, you just like ranting about things or just telling.
I could have we could have a segment that we don't clip out. It's just me giving weekly suggestions or my reflections about life. The guy I was on a date with yesterday was like, you should have a podcast where you just talk about your reflections because you're very wise.
Can we have that? That would be great.
Sure.
I think people
I kind of put that on my Instagram. I put my reflections about life on Instagram.
Oh, guys, check out Susie's Instagram. Link is in the description. So if you like more of that. Okay.
And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Well, okay. We're gonna be clapping because we're gonna be exposing the bad people, right? We're not clapping because we like this. To be fair.
Okay. Okay, we don't like this. To be fair.
By the way, before we go, this person said, "Oh, just joined the stream, most based channel on YouTube. Thank you. If you're here, make sure to like the stream. It helps us. If you want us to be more based, please like the stream and subscribe. We are on the road to 40K. We want to build our militia and grow ever stronger. So please join the Atheist Republic community. We have fun here. And thank you. Also, thank you to all the regulars. You know, it's the people that show up every week that makes it the community that it is. And I enjoy hanging out with you guys. And this might sound weird, but I like think about some of the people that are in our live chat, like in my day-to-day life.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm like, I wonder about them. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that person's life is like. You know what I mean? Like they're not, like they're individuals to me. Anyways.
Okay. Can we clap for the next news?
Oh, okay. No, sure.
Oh. All right. Next news.
Exposing how chronic healers are sexually abusing women in Morocco and Sudan. A harrowing report by BBC News Arabic has exposed the widespread sexual abuse and exploitation by chronic healers, also known as Raqi, in Morocco and Sudan. These so-called spiritual healers were found to be manipulating and assaulting their female clients. Over a year, the BBC gathered testimonies from 85 women and corroborated their stories with NGOs, courts, lawyers, and even an undercover reporter who was inappropriately touched by a healer. One victim, Moroccan woman named Dalal, oh my God, this story is so bad. Just heads up, this is horrible. Was drugged and RAPE'd by a healer who claimed to be exorcising a jinn lover from her body. Another victim, Sasan from Sudan, this is so crazy, was told by a healer that he would have sex with her to create a potion to control her husband. I can give more details about that. The report also identified Sheikh Ibrahim in Sudan, who was accused by multiple women, including an undercover journalist. Authorities in both countries appeared reluctant to tackle the issue, with Moroccan officials describing legal intervention as difficult and Sudanese authorities saying regulations were not a priority. Sasan's chilling words encapsulated the horrifying experience. Quote, he said he would have sex with me and use the resulting body fluids to concoct a potion I should feed my husband. Her stories and others like it expose a hidden world of exploitation under the guise of sexual healing. Excuse me, spiritual healing. Spiritual healing. Okay, so I'll give more background. So BBC Arabic put out a very lengthy report about this. And it not only was a report, it was actually a miniature documentary that they made. So I watched the documentary. It's about half an hour long. Guys can go watch it on YouTube. And it talks about how, so in many Islamic countries, I believe, people can correct me, but I believe this is more common in Sunni communities to believe in, it's called ruqya, right? Like basically exorcism, or like a spiritual intervention to get essentially demons, bad spirits, out of your body to cleanse yourself spiritually. And this is commonly done through readings and recitations of the Quran. So kind of supposed to be like, oh, the word of Allah can be the thing that cleanses this from you. And some of the people who do these Quranic healings are known as Raki. And I don't know how common it is in different communities, but it seems to be pretty prominent in Morocco and Sudan. And it's really interesting because I guess in many ways, this would be one of the few instances in certain cultures and communities where men would have solo, unsupervised access to women, right? Because it's like, oh, it's just like the two of us need to go do this by ourselves. So I can give you this intervention like in secrecy, confidence, all that, blah, blah, blah. And unsurprisingly, many of these healers use this opportunity to take advantage of women. And the one victim that I mentioned in this summary called Dalal, her full story is so horrific and bad. Like, I don't even know if I want to go into the full thing because it's so horrible. But unfortunately, when these women are taken advantage of, abused, they don't really have any recourse because, one, their testimony is not taken seriously, especially because this happens in secluded spaces, right? They're like, there's no witness. There is no witness. What am I supposed to do? By nature, I'm alone with this man. Two, if they're making the decision to come out against very strong and reputable men in their community, so balance of power is stacked against them. Three, if they're coming forth and admitting that this happened to them, they are actually going to be accused of wanting themselves, being at fault for it, for not knowing better, essentially. Or worst case scenario, they can have charges brought against them for adultery or having premarital sex. Right? They can actually face legal consequences for this kind of things. The crime will instead be turned on them. And not to mention the fact that if a woman comes forward and says that this happened to me, she actually could become at risk of honor violence and honor killings herself because she herself was abused. And it now becomes a mark and stain against the family's honor. And they have to address that accordingly. So there's just so many different levels about how the construction of society has made these women specifically incredibly vulnerable. And the problem is the BBC did all this work, investigative work, to expose how systematic this is in a lot of these communities. And in Morocco, they were just basically completely dismissed it. And then in Sudan, the authorities were like, basically, to be very frank, we have so much political instability going on right now. This is just not on our map. Like we can't even, this is not a priority in any way, shape, or form. So despite all this evidence, nothing really came of it. this really intense investigation that they did. And in this investigation, they even had one woman go specifically to have a session with a guy who had several accusations against him. He essentially assaulted her. They caught it on video and nothing happened, which I thought was incredibly brave. Because this woman had to go against in a secluded space to go see this man. And I'm like, you know, when you go into that room that you're risking assault. And like, to decide to put yourself in that position as a journalist is, I mean, damn, I wouldn't do that. So now that I've provided a lot more details about this investigation
And nothing
documentary.
Yeah, go on. And nothing happened? Like just like okay, yeah, this guy is doing that, and just like, okay.
They confronted him about it. He completely denied it. They're like, we literally have this on camera. They went to go confront another guy who was like doing sexy talk with women on the phone as part of like their intervention in healing.
Like,
I mean, really,
they're like,
really
hey, like,
disgusting
hey, we have
exploitative behavior.
They're like, we have a video of you saying this, and you're like, nope. And I'm like, okay. Like, we have video footage of you saying these things and doing these things.
Not even saying.
guy-
We have video evidence of you touching and groping our journalist.
And the guy was like, no. And they were like, okay, good, we resolved this. Thank you for the talk. Bye. See you later. That's it. Okay. Amazing.
Like, the only thing they can do is just put this evidence out there and have the community respond, because the authorities themselves are not going to respond.
Okay. And this is guys, Morocco. This is not Saudi Arabia. This is not Pakistan. Okay. This is not Iran. Okay. This is Morocco. This is supposed to be one of the better Islamic countries. Just so we're clear here, right? You know, I want to admire BBC for doing this. Because BBC is considered to be a mainstream media that doesn't touch, as you know, something that is Islamic like this. So thank you, BBC, for doing this. However, I wouldn't recognize that this has anything to do with Islam with the title. I mean, I can see a mosque there, but that's like kind of blurred. Like this could be a Christian country. This could be just like, look at the title: investigating the spiritual healers sexually abusing women. Like, if I was just scrolling through this could be, I don't know, not Islamic related at all. This could be just like some people with more, new age religion, spiritual
Exactly.
healers.
I would think that it's some new age nonsense.
This is what I thought. Without clicking on it when I first saw this. By the way, Elliot sent this to me. Thank you, Elliot. Elliot is Secular Rarity. I thought this is some new age stuff. I didn't even know this has anything to do with Islam or Quran. So why is there no Islam, no Quran? These are Quran healers. There's no Quran in the title. There's no Islam in the title. And the only thing, I mean, I didn't even recognize that was a mosque because it was kind of blurred in the background. I didn't even recognize. Like, there seems to be shying away. They don't want to. Do you think they did this on purpose, not to be too controversial? I think a lot of people didn't click on this because they didn't understand what this is about. I think they were being intentional. Yeah. I think they took the Islamic parts. I mean, I think there's like within BBC, there's different people working, right? I think the people who are doing the final edit are not as brave as the people who try to decide that this is something worthy of investigating. Like, these are different people. Some people went and risked so much to come to investigate something and did something brave and worthy of attention. But the people who are in BBC, who are just sitting in their office and not risking anything, they decided that they don't even want to risk the controversy. I feel like I'm like, I don't know. This is what I'm feeling. I'm loving and hating this at the same time. I'm loving certain parts of BBC that decided to do this, and I'm also hating another part of BBC that decided that they are not going to put the honest title and caption for this news. After all the effort that gone through it, this is how they're presenting it. Do you understand my anger here?
Oh, completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Treating this with kid gloves.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Let's have sex so we could use the fluids to give it to your husband. That's not what I said. And to do what with? And this is Islam.
This is so gross because the whole thing was that her husband basically left her in poverty to go have a second wife. And so she
Mhm.
wanted to do something spiritual to try to bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
And so she went to this guy and he was like, oh yeah, the solution is that we need to have sex and then we're going to take the body fluids left afterwards and you're going to feed it to your husband. And that's the solution.
And what
She
happened?
left and she
was,
left. She didn't. And she was like, hell no. She left, but she didn't report him to anyone.
So I really want to know what goes on. Like I thought she would buy this. Okay. Well, how does that work? Like Islamically, I want you to explain that. How does I wish I could somebody would like pretend like okay, I'm buying this, but I need to know exactly how you figure this out because I want to know how he's gonna come up with a justification for that. But okay.
Honestly, yeah, I'm curious too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all exploitation. It's like when I was reading through the report and watching the documentary, it's basically the exact same weird spiritual abuse and manipulation, the same kind of language that like abusers that have power in Christian spaces use. Basically the exact same kind of language and excuses and rationalizations.
Okay. Weird. Religion poisons the mind. Okay, can we clap for the next news?
Oh yeah, this is very good.
Nice. Next news.
Fired for not praying. 2 atheists win big in discrimination lawsuit. 2 non-religious employees, John McGaha and Mackenzie Sanders, secured a $50,000 settlement against Aurora Pro Services after they were fired for refusing to participate in the company's daily Christian prayer meetings. McGaha's wages were first halved, and the prayer meetings were extended from 20 to 45 minutes before he was eventually fired in 2020. Sanders was fired in 2020 and was fired between 2020 and 2021 for declining to attend the mandated prayer meetings, which conflicted with her beliefs. The company's owner, Oscar D. Lopez, took attendance at some of the prayer meetings and reprimanded those who didn't attend. After Aurora Pro refused mediation, the EEOC, which is involved with like labor complaints, the Equal Employment Office Commission, something like that. It's a government body, accused the company of violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In a statement highlighting the broader legal implications, Melinda C. Douglas, the regional attorney for EEOC's Charlotte District, stressed the fact that, quote, federal law protects employees from having to choose between their sincerely held religious beliefs and their jobs, and that employers must accommodate conflicting personal religious beliefs. So let's dig into the background. So this is a home repair company in North Carolina, and they had these 2 employees that were working for the company at different times. And they're supposed to do stuff like help fix your roof, help fix your pipes, repair things around your home, blah, blah, blah. And the according to the allegations in the suit, the company's owner, Oscar D. Lopez, who has his LinkedIn profile describing him as servant, husband, father, and devout Catholic, basically would mandate that his employees begin have prayer meetings. And at first they started out with just like a little bit shorter 20 minutes, and then they extended all the way to 45 minutes. And like I said, he would take attendance at these meetings and he would reprimand people who didn't want to attend these meetings. He took punitive action against one of the plaintiffs, Magaha, and when he didn't want to partake in these meetings. And basically, the people that didn't want to attend were punished. This is obviously thoroughly illegal. What is the official name of this department? The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So these employees went to the EEOC to file a complaint against the company, and it's standard practice for the EEOC to try to do some form of arbitration or mediation, I should say. And they refused to cooperate, and so now they have to pay $50,000, which honestly, so that covers back pay for lost wages and commissions for both of the employees that were fired. But honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it's so little. I would expect a lot more than just $50,000. But Armin, what is your reaction?
This is what we need, by the way, because I always complain about the fact that it's so easily, it's so easy to discriminate against atheists, and we need to make sure that people understand that that's not okay. I think one thing we need to learn from, this might sound weird coming from me, but we need to learn from religious people. Okay, we need to learn from Muslims. We need to learn from Christians, and we need to learn from Hindus. Okay, because they have each other's backs, and they don't. And this is a good. I'm actually not being sarcastic here. This is something that I congratulate these people over. I mean, I wish they also were concerned about other people as much, but that's, I take what I could get. But basically what I'm saying is that if you discriminate against a Muslim, guess who's going to complain about it? The Muslim community. They stand up for each other. Hindus stand up for each other. Christians stand up for each other. Mormons stand up for each other. Jewish people stand up for each other. Okay, if there's a case of discrimination against Jewish people, you're going to hear about it, and good, justifiably so. But it's easy to come after atheists, and that's your fault. And by your, I mean like many atheists, because you don't stand up for other atheists the way Muslims stand up for Muslims, or Jews stands for Jewish people. You make it easy for them. There's very little cost associated with it, and people recognize that, and that's why they feel safe to discriminate against against atheists, right? I mean, with actually gay people, that's a good example, because in the past couple of years, just many gay people also have progressed a lot when it comes to making sure that they stand up against the intolerance, against the LGBT community. And it's our turn. I think the atheists, this is why we need the atheist movement, because we need to make that a thing. We need to make that cost, people feel the cost associated with the bigotry against atheists. And also, Dee highlighted a comment here for us. I think that captures that as well. This Imperator Leith, Imperator, is that right? Letha is saying, I'm glad they brought and won a suit against the company. We need to normalize prayer refusal and bring lawsuits like this when necessary, especially here in the US, where prayer before business and or meeting is more common than people realize. So, I mean, the prayer thing is an issue, but in general, any discrimination against the atheists, that's a more important part that I wanted to highlight. And and also, people have to understand, in the US, when you make this a thing in the US, the world notices. And it's used as a model. It's used as something that people could refer to. So when you are doing this in the US, you have to understand that this is not just going to be a US thing. People around the world, when they want to make cases for different things, either good things or bad things, they use at more advanced countries as a way to justify what they're doing, right? For good and for bad, right? So for I see that many people who support the Islamic Republic um, do sometimes they justify their policies by saying, well, look, even in European countries, blah 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 blah, right? Or in people who are want liberalism and secularism, they constantly refer to France, to US, to the UK. Monarchists in Iran constantly refer to the UK as a way to justify what they want. So you have to understand that whatever is happening, I'm not just saying the good things, the good and the bad things, and sometimes the good things are misrepresented, but the everything that is happening in the US or Canada or Western European countries is constantly used as a reference when other people in other countries are trying to justify. I mean, we see that here in the live chat, right? Like we saw that with the failed attempt by Oxymoron to make cases. It's constantly using people because especially with people who have inferiority complex like Oxymoron. They keep on trying to use references from countries more advanced than India to justify their cases. So it's very important that you recognize that when you normalize something, like in the United States, you are having an influence on the entire planet, and that's why it's very important. Anyways, I talk for too much, so let's move on.
No, it's all really important. I think it's really worth you reiterating these things.
Yes.
Oh, you'll love this next news. You'll love this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is right up your
alley.
alley.
All right. Is it? Oh, so I'm assuming it's clappable then.
Mm-hmm.
Next news.
You really needed to wind up that clap. You're like, let me freaking get in here. Okay. Next news. Texting with Jesus, new AI app brings the Bible to life. In a fusion of technology and spirituality, Catloaf Software has launched an app that promises a virtual conversation with some of Christianity's most iconic figures. Aptly named Text with Jesus, this app enables users to engage with characters such as Jesus Christ, Mary, Joseph, and others, all through an interface that mimics popular instant messaging platforms. Users can ask questions and seek guidance with the characters driven by the AI chat model, ChatGPT. Stefan Peter, the founder of Catloaf Software, remarked on the transformative experience offered by the app, saying, quote, instead of just getting a daily Bible verse, now you get a chance through this app to chat with Jesus or anyone else in the Bible. This unique blend of faith and artificial intelligence has drawn both intrigue and criticism from the online community, sparking debates and capturing imaginations about the potential and ethics of bringing sacred texts into the digital age. So I thought this would be really interesting to cover because we talked about how there are Bhagavad Gita chatbots a few weeks ago, and now we have a similar situation with the Bible, the Bible, and there's a lot about this that I find really interesting. I saw one person who claims to be a professionally trained theologian, and he was saying how he didn't like it because in the chatbot, Jesus is actually talking about the church and referencing and citing gospels that literally didn't exist canonically until Jesus was long dead. So it's like, well, how can Jesus be referencing the church when the church didn't exist?
Jesus is God. He knows everything.
I know.
What do I need to tell you to you? I mean, obviously, that's the answer. He doesn't like, oh, oopsie, sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. I died. I was dead by that point. You're God? What are you talking about? You know everything. No?
Wait. Master of Darkness in the live chat said instead of chat GPT, it said that Christ GPT. But Armin, what do you think about this rising age of these religious chatbots?
I will interview Jesus, Muhammad, and Allah here live with you guys when that becomes available. Okay, we have questions for Muhammad. I can't wait for a Muhammad AI because it's really easy to make right now. I don't know why nobody has made that, right? I only need to go to sunna.com. Hold on. Sunna.com, right? So these are all the hadith, guys. This is all the hadiths in the world, okay? Well, not all the hadiths in the world, but that's enough content, okay? So you see, these are the main hadith books. I could go to sunnah.com and then go to Sahih Muslim, right? These are all the Sahih Muslim books. And each one of these, the book of the book of suckling. Of course, we love this one. This one is about
the Book of Suckling is one of my favorites.
yes, right, the book of suckling.
Iconic.
Guys, this is this is actually the name of the book in Islam. Okay, it's about about women grown adult men sucking the milk from the nipple of a pregnant or a recently pregnant woman so that they could talk to them, basically. So if you have a woman that is an adult and Islamically you can't talk to her, it's okay. If she has milk, you could suck that nipple to get some milk, so now she becomes your mother and now you could talk to her. That's actually not a joke. This is what Islam teaches you. Anyways, these are all based on sayings of Muhammad, and all these books have the sayings of Muhammad, and I could take all this information and feed it into an AI, and then basically now the AI will know all the beliefs and sayings of Muhammad, and we could train an AI to basically act as if it's Muhammad, and then we could have, and it could kind of simulate that personality as well. So when we're talking to them, based on all the things we have a personal AI that acts, not only talks as if he knows all the things Muhammad says, but also acts like Muhammad as well. And then we could bring that guy here and have an interview with that guy live on Atheist Republic. We could have questions. We could have a debate with Muhammad. That would be fun, right? Also, we could take all of the Quran and feed it into an AI, and that would be Allah, right? We could train an AI to be Allah, and then we could have an interview with Allah, right? I don't like the fact that I was gonna like try right now and interview Jesus right now, because apparently this is available, but it's only for Apple right now, so we don't have that right now yet. Apparently, download on the Apple Store. So we will, I think Jesus is going to be available a lot earlier than Muhammad and Allah, because that's very controversial. Nobody's going to turn that into an app. I think we have to have home-based trained AI models that we could have here to use but Jesus will be available earlier than the other deities and prophets. And so I'm assuming that we're going to be interviewing Jesus here live, maybe I'll do it on Secular Jihadist channel. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the Secular Jihadist channel, search for Secular Jihadist and subscribe there. I will be interviewing prophets and gods with AI at some point over there, so when it becomes available. Do you guys have any questions for Jesus? I could ask him. What would you ask Jesus, Susie?
I don't have any questions for Jesus right now. According to the reporting that I saw, when you ask Jesus about LGBT issues, it gives this response about we should love everyone, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't condone bigotry.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a Jesus-y thing to say, but I was answered okay, we could love them, but are you going to burn them? Because the Christian position is we humans need to love them, but God, will burn them. That's the position. So they're Christians trying to pretend oh, this is so loving. You're supposed to love them. Yeah, but God doesn't. God burns them, even though he loves them. Yeah. It's so hypocritical. The person who can't forgive the entire humanity because one woman just took a bite out of an apple is telling us to forgive everybody. Dude, you hold a grudge like no one else, and you want us to forgive people for, if somebody just RAPEs our child, you're forgive that, and you're you hold a grudge over a bite of an apple, and you want me to forgive this guy because even though he just molested and murdered my child, I have to forgive that. Okay.
Guys, please like this stream because Armin is using some big words.
I said I spelled it out. I didn't say it.
No, and YouTube doesn't like the M word.
The M word either. God damn it, YouTube. Okay.
Please like the stream, guys. The YouTube gods are not very kind to us.
We got a super chat.
Gaijin gave us another super chat. Thank you, Gaijin. Saying Kalina is a short story by Indra Pramit Das. It talks about the AIification of deities. The Kali AI is born from internet trolls trolling a Durga AI. Oh, that's funny. Wait, that's
Ooh.
funny.
We should cover this on the news. That's AI, Hinduism at the same time. Can we look into this?
Gaijin, can you DM me a link to this, please? I want to read this.
Right.
That's
that would be
funny. Okay, yeah, I want to read that.
Thank you, Gaijin. Is this our last news?
Well, and then we have our
okay
AR news.
Oh, we have it. Okay, cool. So can we clap for this next news?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Next news.
Blasphemy code. Australian state implements religious vilification law. The newly passed quote unquote religious vilification law in New South Wales, or NSW, I can't talk, NSW for short. Australia has amended the NSW Anti-Discrimination Act of 1977, making it unlawful to publicly incite hatred, serious contempt, or severe ridicule towards individuals or group because of their religious beliefs, affiliations, or activities. This extends to all forms of public communication, verbal and nonverbal. Backed by both the ruling Australian Labor Party and the opposition Liberal Party, the law defines public act broadly, creating potential concerns around freedom of speech. Critics argue that the legislation's vagueness might allow it to be weaponized to protect practices like gay conversion therapy, which some religious groups endorse. Josh Pallas, the president of the NSW Council for Civil Liberties, has expressed concerns about the imbalance in protection, as religious organizations are exempt from other parts of the law that prevent them from discriminating against other communities. Alistair Lowry of the Public Interest Advocacy Center warned that the bill's current form is broader than other states' anti-discrimination laws, potentially enabling restrictions of freedom of speech. However, the New South Wales government defends the legislation, stating that it mirrors existing provisions that make vilification unlawful based on race, homosexuality, transgender status, and HIV/AIDS status. Additionally, they note that the law respects positions of no religious belief or affiliation, emphasizing that it was enacted after consultations with various stakeholders, including legal advocates, community groups, and faith-based groups. So, let us dig into this. So, this was covered because, or actually, someone emailed this to me directly. So, unfortunately, I can't remember this person's name off the top of my head, but thank you to the members of our Atheist Republic community that bring things to my attention. If you guys have a story that you want us to cover, you can contact us, or on our Discord, link in the description. We have a whole channel on our Discord server dedicated to you recommending stories that we should cover, which I love because I wouldn't have heard about this otherwise. So thank you to our AR members that bring stuff like this to my attention. And the way that a lot of Australian media is covering it is in the perspective of there is a huge push in Australia right now to criminalize, or maybe not criminalize, but to at least make illegal gay conversion therapy practices, quote unquote therapy. Let me be clear, there's nothing actually therapeutic about it. Basically saying that this is a huge issue for people who oppose this kind of practice, because they may need to basically walk on eggshells when they are trying to talk about the harm behind a practice like gay conversion therapy and also the motivations and rhetoric, the ideology behind these harmful pseudotherapies, right? Because it's this idea that you have to, okay, here's a quote of a professor talking about this. They'd have to be very careful about what they said so that they didn't incite hatred against that religious view, but they're certainly free to attack the practice. So this is one example of a consequence of a religious vilification law like this. Feel free to ask me if I should provide more context or anything. But Armin, based on what I've told you so far, what is your reaction? What do you think?
Give me an example of vilify people. What does it mean to vilify people?
So according to the law, let me find the exact rule. To publicly incite hatred, serious contempt, or severe ridicule towards individuals or groups because of their religious beliefs, affiliations, or activities.
Okay, so if I say I hate all X people, and X is a membership in a religion, that would be illegal?
Well, then it becomes a question of what this is why the broadness of this law in this state is an issue. The broadness of and the vagueness in which it is written is exactly that issue, because at what point do we reach incitement? The question around what is incitement is already legally an extremely difficult question to answer. You know?
Okay.
But now, so that's a good question. Is just saying that statement itself incitement? Do you need more to be considered incitement? It's to vilify members of a group, right?
Like, can you give me an example of something that is clearly vilification for X people, for example? Just an
Ex-Muslims cause corruption on earth.
Okay,
That seems like a pretty obvious example of vilifying an entire group.
Okay, but this is about people of their religion, not lack of religion, right?
Yeah.
Are atheists covered, or like with this law as well? Like if somebody vilifies against atheists, are atheists covered?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, atheists are covered. Okay, so vilifying people, that being illegal. What if I put it in a book? Would the book be illegal?
That's a good question.
I don't know because this law will make the Quran and Bible illegal, I think.
All forms of public communication, verbal and nonverbal.
Okay. This law, if it's going to be enforced without double standards, like if without like honestly, would ban the Quran. This law should ban. If this has this been passed?
I believe it has been passed. I think there has been some suggestions to amend, but my understanding is that it has been passed. I don't think it has.
Do you understand that this law will make the Bible and the Quran illegal? Do you understand how that works? Right. You people in the live chat, do you understand what I'm saying? The Quran, the recitation of the Quran, certain verses in the Quran will be illegal based on, and the Hadith will be illegal based on this law. Does somebody in Australia, would you do you guys want to go challenge the legality of scripture and Hinduism? Oh, Hinduism for sure. Oh my God. Yeah, do you guys want to go challenge the Quran, like ban the Quran and the Bible, because you have been given a law that could ban the entirety of the Quran and at least certain parts of the Quran and the Bible and many Hindu scripture, like the Manusmriti. I don't know. By the way, this is insane.
It's so hypocritical. We see this all the time with these like anti-hate speech laws, but then these texts that are privileged above other texts merely on the basis of them meeting the very diffuse standard of being religious and therefore put on a pedestal above criticism. They get privileged above other ideas.
Yeah, but this
They
is
get
now in the
protected and
law.
shielded above other ideas.
I mean, okay, but this is now in the law. You could have lawyers, atheist lawyers, somebody like atheist organizations, please hire a lawyer to go to show how stupid. By the way, I'm not in favor of banning the Quran or the Bible. Let me just, or any other religious scripture. I'm a free speech guy, okay? If I say maybe it would be a good idea to go hire a lawyer to use this law to ban the Quran, is not because I want to ban the Quran. I want to make a point about how stupid this law is. This is an anti-free speech law. I am very much against vilifying an entire group of people, okay? But I'm not for that being in law. Any law that says like me saying my opinion, even if it's a crappy opinion, will be illegal. That's a crappy law. I can't swear on YouTube. That is, we should not have laws like this. Obviously, what are you doing, Australia? Anyways, I can go on a rant, but I know.
No, I mean, I agree. I also actively oppose hate speech laws, which people think is weird or they don't understand. But really, I don't like the idea of a governmental authority making these prescriptions. For me, it's more of a state power kind of thing. But Australia in general has a lot of very, well, from my perspective as an American, let's be fair, very bizarre, like hate speech, quote unquote, like proclamations. So I'm not surprised by this at all, to be honest. I don't even think they have free speech actually enshrined in any form of constitution.
Oh yeah, they don't. There's no form of hate speech laws that you could have that will not target the holy scriptures. Go ahead and make an argument to me. Like Muslims and Christians, like I want to ask a Muslim who supports hate speech laws, how do you think the Quran is going to survive that? Tell me. Even if you come up like, well, that's the wrong interpretation, then you could see, anybody could say that about, like, if the way Quran, for example, talks about Christians and Jews, and especially non-believers, if you use the same lines and replace kafirun, just go in the Quran, take the Quran and replace kafirun with Muslims. Any hate speech law would see that as something ban-worthy. And Muslims who are against hate speech would categorize that as hate speech.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. It would be hate speech. But the thing is that Muslims, for example, would recognize that as hate speech. Like even the Muslims who say that the Quran is not hateful, if you read the Quran and replace the way that the Quran talks about kafirun, unbelievers, and say that the same exact words about Muslims are like, yeah, that's hate speech. Obviously so. And also the Bible, just the book of Revelation. Just take the book of Revelation and replace unbelievers with Christians. That would be considered hate speech. Even by most Christians, they would recognize that as hate speech. Anyways.
One thing that I thought that I wanted to touch on briefly, really interesting in the article I read by The Guardian explaining this law and the opposition against it, is there was an activist in Australia who is basically fighting caste discrimination in India. And this person was explicitly citing that they fear that people who are fighting caste discrimination within their communities in Australia. Oops. Can you hear that ambulance?
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
basically they're saying Kassim said people deemed from lower castes who speak out against caste discrimination are often harassed by others deemed part of the higher caste groups. He was concerned that the new laws would give license to religious groups to accuse those who speak up about caste discrimination of religious vilification. So he's saying,
Right.
okay, when I'm in a religious community and I'm trying to talk about the bad behavior within my own religious community or broader diaspora community that I come from, am I going to be accused of vilification because I'm trying to address bad, harmful behavior? This is a
Right.
serious concern that I would have if I was also one of these activists. If I was fighting gay conversion therapy, how can I be honest about fighting the practice without being able to accurately address the beliefs that fuel the practice? You're only allowed to address the practice. You're not allowed to address the belief. These practices don't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
So a lot of people,
wait.
the person that emailed this to me, thank you once again, they basically were like, does this constitute a blasphemy law in some forms?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
It's a really difficult line to draw.
It is. Shikha is asking me, what about like the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, and because I mentioned Hindu scripture also promotes hate against certain group of people. To be fair to the Bhagavad Gita does not promote violence to any certain group of people, because the Bhagavad Gita promotes hate against everybody, against violence against everybody, the entire humanity. Okay, so it's the hate in Bhagavad Gita is so widespread across all living things. That level of hatred does not discriminate. Okay, it literally promotes genocide against anybody. So that's how hateful the Gita is. That is not discriminatory. It's all inclusive is in its promotion of violence. So
Universalizing.
universal hatred and violence. Yes, exactly. It's the only religious book that I know of that is this universal when it comes to promoting violence. It's so to be fair to the Gita, if you want to find, yeah. if in Hinduism, if you want a book that is like hateful towards certain sects specifically, I suggest you read the Manusmriti. Yeah, that would be a better book for that. If the different kinds of book for different kinds of hate. So
You stupid.
yeah. Do we clap for the next news? This is the last news, guys.
Yes, I'm excited about this. I think this is cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. Next news.
Next news, doodling on religious texts for Apostasy Day, which is happening on August 22nd. So guys, I want to put this on your radar to be prepared because it is happening soon. Apostasy Day is happening on August 22nd, upcoming in like a week and a half. And so the International Coalition of Ex-Muslims has launched a campaign to help promote this, to help raise awareness about Apostasy Day, and also draw attention to some of the causes that Apostasy Day stands for. So Apostasy Day in general is intended to celebrate apostates, to draw attention to laws that criminalize apostasy, to draw attention to the persecution of apostates, particularly from Islam, and to come forth and say that apostasy is not a crime. It's not a crime. We should have freedom of belief. We should have freedom of expression. That us expressing our disagreement and our journey away from harmful traditions, beliefs, and practices shouldn't be stigmatized in society. We shouldn't be ostracized for these things. So that being said, on August 22nd, feel free to use the hashtag. Wait, what was the Oh, Apostasy Day, hashtag Apostasy Day, and hashtag Apostasy Day Doodles. And basically, the idea is, well, I'll read the text from CEMB. On Apostasy Day, join us in celebrating blasphemy and apostasy as rights by subverting and doodling on the Quran, Bible, Torah, the Vedas, or any other religious text to proclaim ideas are not sacred, human beings are. It's important to reiterate that burning, murdering, torturing, persecuting human beings are violence and hate, not burning the Quran or religious texts. So I thought this is like a fun campaign to doodle on a religious text that you disagree with as a demonstration and kind of a conversation starter behind the idea that we should be respecting human rights, not religious ideas per se. You know, it's not, oh, he grabbed the Quran. You're muted, by the way.
Warning, warning. I'm going to turn the Quran. Look away if you don't like that. What do I do? I don't know how to. I'm not good at doodling. What should I doodle?
Well, you don't have to doodle anything in particular. Like, you can just scribble on it, to be honest. Like, Miriam Namazi posted a video to promote the day, and she just scribbled on it.
No, I wouldn't. How about...
You can make a statement. You can make a phrase.
Oh, okay.
Expressing an idea. What I like to do is to make it to really make my blasphemy exponential. What I do is I draw the prophet on my Quran, because you get a 2-for-1.
Okay, you can't see what I wrote, can you?
What does that say?
It says I poo-pooed on Islam. It's just a hashtag in. No, it's a hashtag. It's a famous hashtag in Iran.
Yeah.
I'm saying poo-poo because I don't want to say the word that YouTube doesn't like, right? Right. Mm-hmm. So it requires a hashtag it in. Can I write stuff? Is that part of the campaign?
You can say do whatever you want. It's Apostasy Day Doodles. So guys, on August 22nd, if it is safe for you, I always want to reiterate that if this is safe for you, we're not encouraging people to do anything that would put them in harm's way or lead to legal consequences, of course. Depends on where you live. But feel free to use hashtag Apostasy Day or hashtag Apostasy Day Doodles to help promote the message behind Apostasy Day, saying that apostasy is not a crime. People shouldn't be murdered for this. Maybe you're even a religious person. You can still use hashtag Apostasy Day to talk about how you don't think that this is something that people should be persecuted and executed for. Maybe you're someone that doesn't like desecration. Maybe you don't like blasphemy. You don't have to, right? You don't have to do that to get behind the message of Apostasy Day, right? You might not think that it's a smart tactic, but maybe you think that people shouldn't be murdered for it. Feel free to use hashtag Apostasy Day and talk about this. Or maybe you want to celebrate a friend who is public about their apostasy, even though it comes at a great consequence to themselves in their life. You can celebrate them. There's so many different ideas behind Apostasy Day, but it's happening on August 22nd. So I want to get everyone ready. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Do you know what this is?
It's a little poo-poo.
The poo-poo emoji.
It's a poo-poo emoji.
Emoji, yes. I don't know how to do. I'm trying my best there. Okay, I'm trying.
Yeah. I like your drawings. Sometimes you draw me stick figure drawings, and then it's adorable.
Yeah. I think I did it. I think this is pretty good, actually. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Now my problem is that I need to go get my rainbow Quran out of storage at my friend's house. Because like I wanted to do something, but then I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have it with me right now. So next week I need to get a hold of that.
Wow. So Kenny's saying you are better at drawing than me. Really? This? Okay. So good. At least I'm better than one person in drawing. That's good to know.
I think people say the reason why stuff like this is important to me, and because a lot of people, especially in my own community, they don't understand why I would do an action like this that they consider so radical. And for me, what I always reiterate to people and what when I make a post for this on Apostasy Day, what I want to talk about in my caption is basically that I will always feel the need and be inspired to do this as long as there is anyone that is being murdered for criticism of this.
For it.
I will do this as long as anyone is being persecuted behind this. Like a few weeks ago, we talked about that Kurdish man. I can't remember his first name. I think it was Kwanis, who was murdered simply for criticism, right? And he was open about his apostasy. Within this year, 2 men in Iran hung by the neck, strangled to death because they merely shared footage of a burning Quran. I will do this as long as there is anyone being murdered for this. Because I dare you to tell me that any given piece of paper is more important than those people that were murdered, those men that were taken away from their families, their children, their loved ones. And to me, it's really a statement against. There is nothing that should be above criticism. There's no idea that should be above criticism.
Or mockery.
Something I learned a long time ago is truth will always stand under scrutiny. Truth will stand under scrutiny. So if that is true, then there is nothing above criticism. Because if it is true, it will remain true after it is examined and criticized. So any doctrine, any dogma is not above criticism. It is not above mockery. Because if it is in fact true, it will easily stand the test. And I reject any imposition in our ability to begin that process of examination. Because those impositions are literally standing in the way of fostering more prosperity for a larger amount of people. I don't know. To me, it's that simple. But obviously, a lot of people see this as very radical. I understand why. But I've accepted that consequence in my life.
No.
Sorry, I went on a rant.
No. People were loving it in the chat. And Secular Sakai also supports this move. And
oh, Sakai! Oh my God, I missed you so much. I've been wondering where he is. This is what I meant when I'm like, sometimes we have people in our community, they're in our live chat, and sometimes they like disappear for a little while, and I think about you guys. I like wonder what's going on. So I'm glad to see you back. Thank you for the $10 super chat saying, agreed. I'm going to doodle on the Quran, Bible, Satanic Bible, Vedas, Gita, Torah, Dhammapada, Pada, and the Guru book. Tell me in the comments if I missed anything that I should add to the list. Maybe a Scientology book. Armin's book. You can doodle on Armin's book.
I would be honored if I know people usually use the God delusion, but if anybody wants to make a point about why it's okay to insult books and they use my Why There Is No God book as to represent a book, as a book to represent atheism, I would be so honored if that was the book that people chose to insult.
That reminds me. I want to find this. Wait, I need to find Armin. Do you remember that? Oh my God, where is it? The little thing you made for the Persian show of all the things you need to desecrate. Wait.
Oh yeah.
Wait. I need to pull up a version of the screenshot that I can screen share.
Oh, you already made that? You have it prepared?
Wait. I got this.
Okay.
Guys, this is going to be a little exclusive Atheist Republic behind the scenes. Wait, okay, done. Okay, wait, now I need to open this new window. 1 second. Okay, this is Atheist Republic exclusive. Okay. Peek behind the scenes, Atheist Republic After Dark.
What is it? I'm curious.
Okay. Armin,
Oh.
explain what's happening here. Look at how happy you are.
So
This is all the things that Armin needs to desecrate.
yes, I was trying to make a point. Look, Susanna's reaction. That's funny. I was trying to make a point on the Persian show, because on the Persian show I desecrated the Quran, and people were like, Armin, you would never. People in the live chat were like, they were saying, Armin, you would never do this to that, or you never do this. So they started mentioning things that they thought that I hold sacred, right? So they're like, Armin, you would never do this to an Israeli flag. And they were like, Armin, you will never do this to the U.S. Constitution. And they're like, Armin, you would never do this to the LGBT flag. And then some people, because I defended Reza Pahlavi on certain positions, people were like, oh, Armin, we dare you to do this to the picture of Reza Pahlavi. So I went and got the picture of 4 of these things that people kept on telling me that I'm not brave enough to desecrate. And I also included my own picture as well to desecrate, to print. I printed it out and I cut them each one by one. And on the show, my Persian show, I went and started spitting on each one of these, including my own picture, and ripping it apart and throwing it at the camera, just to show I don't give a crap. Yeah. So.
The funniest thing is that Kenny is saying, is that the Declaration of Independence? Yes.
Oh, yeah, independence, yes.
So
yes,
a lot of people don't understand that, well, Armin really values documents like the Declaration of Independence, like the United States Bill of Rights. People don't understand that these are not things that we hold sacred. Like, the relationship to these texts is radically different. It's like we just... Yeah, it's so different. People don't understand that. So when you were showing me this a few months ago, and I love this screenshot so much, out of context. This is so funny. And I also love how happy you look. Look at how proud you look. Yeah. God. So Sakai, maybe these are some ideas of things you can add to your list.
Yeah, here's the thing. Let me make this point. This is a very important point, okay? As much as we're against Islam or religion, Christianity or Hinduism, when I desecrate the Quran, I'm not actually expressing my hatred towards Islam. I'm not. That's not the point, okay? I would do the same thing. I would encourage a global movement to desecrating a book that I love, that I find helpful to humanity, if there was laws or intimidation against desecration of that book. Let's say there's a book that I think it's actually a good book. It's a helpful book. I love that book. But there were some groups, there was a government somewhere that were like, oh yeah, this is such a good book that it should not be desecrated. That's going to be law. Or there was another group of people, maybe it wasn't law, but they were intimidating other people because they were desecrating that book. Then I would encourage people to desecrate that book, even though I like that book. I make that point on the Persian show that, let's say a cookbook. Let's say a cookbook. People love the cookbook so much that they wanted to make it law that you can't burn this book or you can't insult this book. I would insult the cookbook, that cookbook. So when we are desecrating the Quran, this is separate from the idea that we find Islam harmful to society. Because even if Islam was good, even if Quran was a good book, we will still desecrate the Quran if people were trying to intimidate us into not desecrating it. Do you understand the point here? I hope people understand.
I mean, I'm tracking. I get it.
Good. All right, guys, that was the last of our news. Thank you guys. Do not leave the show without liking. I do not allow it. If you watch our show without liking it, I want you to go stand in front of a mirror and ask yourself, what kind of a person am I? Why am I like this? Why, when I could do something so simple? Like, I'm watching a show about different horrible things in the world, or things that are lacking, or things that need to be improvement. And I'm interested in this, but I myself as an individual, I'm somebody who understands that I could take half a second to like a show, to help them promote the show, to help more people see it, but I am not willing to even spend half a second doing that. Like, I'm a person that complains about problems in the world, but I wouldn't even, it's not donating money, it's not spending much time, it's simply liking the video, and I don't even do that. So I'm a hypocrite when I expect other people around the world to do anything to make the world better, when I'm not somebody who doesn't even like a show, knowing that that would have an influence. And look, tell yourself in the mirror, tell yourself you are a hypocrite. Look at yourself in the mirror and say that. Say, I'm not a good person, where I could do the minimum to make the world a better place, and I'm not even doing that. So if you're not liking the show, make sure. I would suggest liking the show. It's easier because all I describe here takes more time than liking the show. So just like the show, so you don't have to do all of that. Okay.
Just like the stream, so I shut up. No. Yeah, D is saying Armin lecture. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to everyone who comes every week and hangs out with us. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your perspective, hearing about your part of the world, why you think the way you think. I really appreciate a special shout out to all the volunteers at Atheist Republic, both seen and unseen, who help make this possible. Thank you to everyone that donates to us. We are a registered 501c3. And it is through your support that we're able to do this show. So if you want to support us, we have many different options in the description. You can sign up for our Patreon and get access to all of our blasphemous art. Very, very sexy. You can support us on PayPal. You can write us a check in the mail. Lots of different ways to support our work, because if it wasn't the support that we receive from you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And finally, thank you to our moderators, our lovely mods, helping keep this a welcoming and open community, but still one that encourages critical thought and difficult conversation, which is a difficult balance. So I appreciate the jobs that you guys do. And I had a lot of fun today.
No, me too. I love hanging with you, Susie. I know this show would not be fun without you. I'm so glad that you're here. Anyways, I'll tell you that. I tell that. By the way, guys, I know Susanna thanked everybody, but let's also thank Susanna, because she spends a lot of time trying to research all of this news for you guys to make sure that you're getting the best information. So please, if you're leaving a comment, one of those comments could be thanking the team, thanking Dee, but also thanking Susanna, because, she really cares about doing what she does for you guys. So we should appreciate her. Yeah. Oh, look at people are saying thank you, Susanna, in the chat. Oh, okay. Okay, guys, let's go. All right. Bye, guys. See you next week. Mwah.
Kisses.